The sound of the North East is BBC Radio Newcastle.
It's 1 o'clock with your news. I'm Ian Wood. Andy Burnham has been blocked from standing in the forthcoming parliamentary by-election in Gorton and Denton. Party sources told the BBC lots of concerns were raised about the cost of an election for a new mayor of Greater Manchester and the prospect of a divisive campaign. It's understood the vote was 8-1 in favour of blocking. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, abstained as the chair. The Deputy Leader, Lucy Powell, voted to allow him to stand. A Republican senator has called for a joint federal and state investigation into the fatal shooting of a man by Border Patrol agents in Minneapolis. There were protests overnight there after the death of 37-year-old Alex Pressey. The part of Minneapolis where the killing took place is known as a vibrant, family-orientated area. Jacob Thomas lives in the city and describes the effect.
Now we have this stain there, all of those joys and memories of these, places, of going to these restaurants, of being with friends and with family, is now also going to be tinged with the memory of this tragedy and this, execution-style killing in our streets.
More than 1 million passengers have travelled on the new Northumberland line between Ashington and Newcastle. Northumberland Park is set to be the newest station to open on the line, which had been closed in 1964 under the Beeching cuts. It cost £298 million to reopen in December 2024. Money well spent, according to Alex Hornby of Northern Trains.
We've smashed the 1 millionth customer journey barrier far sooner than we expected, and with still 2 stations left to open. And then no doubt there'll be more successes to come for what is a line that isn't just producing great statistics and great numbers, it's changing lives here in the North East.
As Tyneside charity Stepney Bank Stables celebrates its 25th birthday, a former student pays tribute to the place he says changed his life. Adam Short was just 3 when he started lessons there. 24 years later, he travels the world as head groom to event rider and Olympian Tom McEwen. Adam's now proud to be a patron of Stepney Bank and says his time there played a big part in where he is today.
I could not say enough good things about the place, because what it did to help me was absolutely life-changing. And I can see still now, every day, it changes the lives of so many young people.
People are being encouraged to get involved in the world's largest wildlife survey. The Big Garden Birdwatch started yesterday and takes place till the end of this evening. Last year in County Durham alone, nearly 4,000 people took part, with the house sparrow taking the top spot as the most commonly seen bird. Nearly 600,000 people from across the UK took part, counting more than 9 million birds altogether. On now to sport, football, and Sunderland suffered another defeat on the road as they lost 3-1 away to West Ham United. Captain Granit Xhaka wasn't in the squad after picking up an ankle injury. Manager Regis Lebris says they have a good enough squad to cope without Xhaka.
I don't know yet for the time frame, we'll see. We'll have at least 2 weeks of rest, and then we'll assess his injury. It's an ankle injury. We have a good squad. They have to experience different situations. This one is not comfortable, but I think we can learn more from a difficult period like that, rather than sometimes just a sequence of wins.
In the Women's Super League 2 today, 2 of our sides are in the capital. At midday, Durham have been taking on Crystal Palace. Then at 2 o'clock, Newcastle go up against Charlton. Also at 2, Sunderland entertain Southampton at Appleton. Novak Djokovic is through to the quarter-finals of the Australian Open after his opponent withdrew from the 4th round. Djokovic has won the Open a record 10 times. And the weather for the northeast, windy and overcast with showers. Later the winds will ease as the rain turns lighter. Maximum temperature 6 degrees. That's your BBC Radio Newcastle news.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Flat clearance, Bruno's onto it and through for Joelinton to run onto. Joelinton squares it, Wissa scores! Johan Wissa, first Champions League start, and he marks it with what could be a crucial goal in Newcastle's quest to reach the knockout stage. Or short back pass and a touch to Wissa that finds Anthony Gordon, and they've doubled their lead, and it's another mistake at the back by PSV that lets Newcastle United in. This time Wissa was the provider, squared it for Gordon, who has his 6th Champions League goal of the season. Barnes edge of the area, into the box, Harvey Barnes does what Harvey Barnes does. emotions, and it's shaping up to be another huge Champions League win for Newcastle United. They're heading to the Champions League knockout phase. Newcastle United 3, PSV Eindhoven 0. Their European adventure goes on. Now they need to continue their climb up the Premier League table. They could go as high as 4th if they beat Aston Villa today on Tyneside. Two teams that play attacking football, but when they last met, it finished goalless.
I think we played very well on the day. I think it was a really good performance from us away from home. But you can see their qualities, and if they're able to get their rhythm and get their attacking players into the game, I think they're a real threat. I think I really like how they play, and they've got some standout players, so tough game for us.
That opening weekend stalemate at Villa Park probably gave little clue as to how well Aston Villa's season would go, and perhaps Newcastle United's, which has been up and down, but lots to look forward to, not least Paris on Wednesday in the Champions League for a winner takes all with PSG in terms of the top 8 and going straight to the last 16. But a huge match today before then, part of a really difficult looking run of fixtures over the next few weeks. Villa 3rd in the table, finding themselves 7 points behind the leaders Arsenal. Newcastle United, I mentioned they could go up to 4th. They do need other results to go for them, and it would be on goal difference, but they have the chance to move their way into the European and potentially Champions League places this afternoon. A fixture that they normally do pretty well in. Their record against Aston Villa in the Premier League is as good as it is against any other team. The last time Aston Villa won at St James's Park was nearly 21 years ago in that chaotic, crazy match that saw Newcastle have 3 players sent off. Stephen Taylor for a handball, but the fighting between Lee Bowyer and Kieran Dyer. 17 home league games for United against Villa without defeat, and we'll find out this afternoon here on BBC Radio Newcastle, the Newcastle United website and app, and BBC Sounds, whether that strong run and strong record against Villa will continue. A very good afternoon from Matthew Racebeck and from John Anderson. Ando, it's we were just saying that the 2 o'clock kickoffs are always you feel really slow, and the build-up is very different. Just an hour on a Sunday seems to make a difference, and we've got grey skies, the floodlights are on, drizzle. It's a pretty miserable, wet and windy afternoon, but there is something about 2 o'clock kickoffs that
yeah, they always feel a little bit flat, don't they?
They have that different feel.
Yeah, it's I mean, walking around outside, it's not as vibrant as it usually is. Everybody's a little bit quiet. Don't know whether there's many of them nursing hangovers or what, but it might be the case. But it's a little bit flat outside, that's for sure.
The team today with one change, and Bruno is missing. He doesn't feature at all in the squad because of the ankle injury that he sustained against PSV. Bruno doesn't normally come off, so the fact that he had to be substituted clearly was an indication that there was an injury that was going to require some examination and some treatment. We don't have a further update on his fitness beyond what Eddie Howe said at the pre-match press conference on Friday, and that was just that they didn't know the full extent. Bruno was quite positive and they hoped that he would be fit, but he is not fit to play. There is no Bruno, and Lewis Miley comes into the team, and that is good news because Miley has been terrific recently. He'll play in midfield. The rest of the 11 is the same, so it's Pope, Trippier, Chow, Botman, Hall, Miley, Tanali, Joelinton, Barnes, Gordon and Wissa as the front 3. 2 players back from injury on the bench. Both Dan Burn and William Osula returned to the matchday squad. Burn out since the derby in the middle of last month, and Osula hasn't featured since the defeat by West Ham at the beginning of November because of an ankle problem. The bench is Ramsdale, Osula, Elanga, Voltemada, Willock, Burn, Alex Murphy, Ramsey against his former club, and Shahar. No Neve on there, still no Jacob Murphy either. Emil Kraft injured to Jamal Lascelles, not in the first team squad at the moment, not fit, and doubts over his future. So still a couple of players missing, Ando. Good to get Osula and Byrne back, which we'll come on to, but losing the skipper is a blow because he's so influential.
Yeah, he's a player that wants to play all the time, doesn't like coming off. Wasn't a good sign when he came off the other night. Eddie Howe gave him every opportunity to prove his fitness, but that's obviously not the case. You just keep your fingers crossed now that he's going to be available for Wednesday in Paris. But look at Miley coming in, haven't got a problem there at all, and I think the young boy's been absolutely outstanding. Doesn't matter where you play him, he just goes and he does his job. He's got such an old head on a young pair of shoulders. He looks very relaxed everywhere he plays on the pitch. He'll get it, he'll pass it, he'll move it. So it is what it is. The rest of the team, obviously no changes, no rotation at all. Kieran Trippier, another game for him. Two centre backs have been excellent. Hall's been outstanding at left back. Joe Linton looks back to his best the last few games. Tonali I thought was better the other night as well, and Barnes is always, we speak about Barnes all the time because he's always got a goal in him, and when he gets in certain areas of the pitch you always fancy him to score the goal. Wissa the other night I thought he played really well. I thought he worked the line really well. Not just up and down but across the pitch as well. He played that 18-yard box. His movement along there was excellent. In saying that, I think today will be more difficult than the other night, especially from a physical aspect of the game. I thought they were so weak the other night, I really did. I thought we bullied them all over the pitch. I don't remember them winning one tackle, winning one 50-50. They reminded me of when Bilbao were here, when Benfica were here. Neat, tidy, technically very good, but no physicality about them whatsoever. I said in commentary the other night, Razor, the exact words were we beat them up all over the pitch, and that's exactly what we did. They got close to them, pushed them, shoved them, upset them, but I doubt very much whether it'll be like that today, because Villa are decent. We've seen them in the opening day, and was it 5 games I think they went without scoring a goal. Didn't expect them to be in the position that they're in. Didn't expect them to lose to Everton last week either at home. That came as a shock, but they've bounced back well from a real dodgy start to the season. They've got 1 or 2 out. McGinn's a huge player for them. He's a big influence for them. He's missing, that's a bonus for us. But they've got good players, and it'll be a tough game today.
As Ando mentioned, Aston Villa 3rd in the Premier League. They are through to the last 16 of the Europa League. They did so with a game to spare, beating Fenerbahce in Turkey on Thursday night. So they've had a busy week, 2 away trips and shorter recovery period in between compared to Newcastle from Wednesday night to today. Villa play Thursday night and now this afternoon. 5 changes made by Unai Emery. The goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez has been a doubt and didn't play in the Europa League. He has come back in after a calf problem. So Martinez in goal. They've made 3 changes in defence as well. Ezri Konsa, Pau Torres and Ian Maatsen are all brought into the side. And the other change, the 5th one for Villa, is in midfield, where Amadou Onana is brought back into the team. They've also got the Jamaican winger Leon Bailey back from a loan spell with Roma, so he's on the bench. And Harvey Elliott on loan from Liverpool. It's a loan move that hasn't really worked out, and he's not played for a couple of months, but they've added him surprisingly to their squad, and he is on the bench today as well, Harvey Elliott. So Aston Villa, Martinez in goal, Cash, Konsa, Pau Torres and Maatsen in defence, Onana and Tielemans in midfield, Sancho, Buendia Rodgers, their top scorer, with 8 goals, and Watkins up top. He has 7 this season, all of them in the Premier League. And the Villa bench: Bizot, the goalkeeper, Lindelof, Mings, Elliott, Digne, Bogard, Gesson, Bailey, and 18-year-old midfielder who's played a couple of times called George Hemmings. They, like Newcastle, it's something we'll talk about before kick-off, Ando, have run into PSR issues. They've had some transfer difficulties this season. It's reminiscent of Newcastle last year, isn't it? Not really being able to spend, and obviously perhaps having to make sales. One of them, Jacob Ramsey, to Newcastle. But what they've done brilliantly is manage European campaign alongside domestic football, and they've got some huge results this season. The manager is clearly very, very good, and they are one of the hardest teams to play against, even though Newcastle have a great record against them here. How highly do you rate Aston Villa? Just how good do you think they are?
I think all you've got to do is look at what they've done from those opening half a dozen games. You know, they've recovered so well to be in the position that they're in. I think they are a good side. I think they've got good players. I think the manager tactically is very, very good as well. You know, so look, they are where they are in the league, and they're there because that's where they deserve to be. You know, they've recovered really, really well. They went on a run. As I say, big surprise for them to lose to Everton last week. Although there's been some real strange results in the Premier League this season when you look at results overall. But yeah, look, there's no doubt in my mind that it's going to be tougher here today than it was against PSV on Wednesday night. From a physical aspect of the game as well, you know, they won't stand off you. They'll get in and about you. They'll make life really, really difficult. But we've been playing well. You know, Wolves was one of those games that, I suppose, if you say a game that doesn't suit you, where we've got to take the game to the opposition, where we've got to go and we've got to look to break them down, and we're not very good at doing that. You know, we haven't got the players that can do that. You know, they got an awful lot of players behind the ball, Wolves, that made life difficult, and we didn't move the ball quick enough. You know, we were slow in what we did. Let them get back into shape, let them get plenty of goal shorts back behind the ball, fill gaps, gave us no space. I mean, it says it all when you've got the most number of passes in a Premier League game, in the first half of a Premier League game, and not have a shot on goal. Ridiculous, you know. But we needed somebody in midfield that was a little bit different, you know. But look, a point away from home, I suppose. When we said it, you go away from home and you get a point away from home in the Premier League, it's decent. But Wolves aren't great. They're going straight back down, that's for sure. You know, the predicament they're in is, they're not going to get out of that. But look, we've moved on. We've got an opportunity to jump into a European spot today, a win today, and you know, we're heading in the right direction.
And today's match, like you say, will be very different because of the way that Villa play. Do you think there's similarities with Newcastle's style in terms of energy and intensity when both are at their best? And I said earlier that they are two attacking teams. We remember the 5-1 on the opening day a couple of seasons ago. That was a match that was wide open. Newcastle won it by a big margin in the end, but Villa were really dangerous, weren't they, on the break that day?
Remember Villa last season down there? Yeah,
lost 4-1, didn't they? Newcastle.
I mean, they were great that day. It always amazes me, you know, when you lose games and everybody goes, "Oh, we weren't at our best. We were poor." And sometimes I think, you know, you've got to give credit to the opposition. You know, you go back to that Villa game and everybody goes, "Oh, we were brilliant." Nobody mentioned Villa. Yeah. You know, where Villa supporters would probably go, "Well, actually, we weren't at our best today," and that's the nature of it, and that's the way supporters are. But I don't think there's much between these two sides. I really don't. I think it's a tough one to call. As far as player-wise and ability-wise, I don't think there's a great deal between the two sides.
It's been interesting though to see how well Aston Villa have done, and sometimes if you look at social media, that's often used in arguments against Newcastle, and also the way that Eddie Howe has managed this season, because Villa have played Thursday to Sunday when they've been in Europa League action, which is often considered more difficult in terms of scheduling than Wednesday, Saturday if you're in the Champions League, or Tuesday when you have an extra day rest to the following weekend. And yet they have been third. They had an 11-match winning run, which came to an end recently after a pretty rough start. But there have been some Newcastle fans that have been looking at how Aston Villa have managed to make it work, and make it work better than Newcastle have. Is there anything that you can identify? Because I mentioned their PSR issues, and they let Don Marlon go out, and they're possibly bringing Tammy Abraham in. Feels like it's one out, one in at Villa, because PSR's clearly tight. Newcastle know all about that, but they have managed it very well.
The one thing I would say is that their European trips have been an awful lot tougher than ours. I don't mean playing wise, I mean where they had to go. You know, they were in Turkey on Thursday night, 4.5 hour trip back to Birmingham, middle of the night, didn't get back till 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, then had to prepare for this. We haven't had those long trips. All the trips we've had have been pretty decent.
Yeah. So they deserve great credit, don't they, for their Premier League performance?
Yeah, the way they've handled it and the way they've measured it is good on them. You know, they've qualified for the last 16 of the Europa League with a game to spare. Watched them the other night. Thought they were good. Thought they handled the game really well. Thought the way they handled the atmosphere out there, which can be a little bit intimidating, was good. Big win for them. I suppose on the downside is, you would say, how have they recovered from that? You know, not just the game, but the travelling and everything else. I mean, we'll find out soon enough, but you know, you could say that it's probably a good time to play Villa after they've been away on a lengthy trip in Europe.
We'll bring a commentary from 2 here on BBC Radio Newcastle, live from St James's Park. You can also listen to us today on BBC Sounds, so get Ando's analysis on the game, get the Newcastle United angle by getting the BBC Sounds app. It's free to download from the App Store, and select BBC Radio Newcastle as the station at the top of the app, and you can listen to us there. We can put some of our Newcastle and Sunderland commentaries on BBC Sounds, so you can listen wherever you are to our coverage in that case, and that is the case today from 2. And if you have a smart speaker, ask it to play BBC Radio Newcastle, and you can hear all the action from St James's on your smart speaker. Newcastle with Pope in goal, Trippier, Chow, Botman, Hall, Miley in for Bruno in the only change, Tenali, Joelinton the other midfielders, Barnes, Gordon and Wissa at the front 3. Bruno misses out entirely because of his ankle injury. Ramsdale, Osula, Elanga, Voltemada, Willock, Byrne, Alex Murphy, Ramsey and Shahar is the bench. So Byrne and Osula return to the squad following injuries. William Osula gives Eddie Howe a third option as a centre forward, though he can also play in wide positions as well. He's been out for nearly 3 months with an ankle problem, so good to see him back after a positive opening couple of months of the campaign from him. Not quite sure what his fitness levels are, so we would expect it to still be Nick Voltemada and Johan Wissa, at least for now. In terms of rotation, they are the main 2 Newcastle United centre forwards. Voltemada on the bench again today. Wissa continues in attack after scoring his 3rd goal for the club in the win over PSV Eindhoven. Eddie Howe is pleased to have his 2 big money strikers to choose from.
Well, I think it's actually a good thing for both players that they're both fit and available and able to contribute. So from my side, I see it as a huge positive for both players, because I think looking back at previous examples of this, when Callum and Alex were both fit and firing, they helped each other, they pushed each other, they elevated each other in some ways to greater performances, and that is how both players have to take on the challenge, because you almost want the whole team feeling this, by the way, not just those two players, but the whole team feeling that one bad performance can cost them their place in the team. I think that's when teams play the best that they can, when everyone's pushing and everyone's aware of the strength of the group. I think we've got a really good squad. I want to try and create that in every position, and that can only be healthy. I trust both players. I think they're very, very good players. They've got different strengths, but I think they can be highly effective, and it's great to have them both fit in the way.
Eddie Howe on Johan Wissa and Nick Voltemade. Wissa starting today. You mentioned it earlier how his movement is obviously different to Voltemade's, plays the role in a different way, but probably makes Newcastle look a bit more like the Newcastle we've seen under Eddie Howe because of his profile, Wissa. And the other thing, I suppose, different to Voltemade is that he's more of a penalty box striker, isn't he? But good that he's fit and getting a bit of a run now, Johan Wissa. This is his third Premier League start.
I think he needs a run of games as well. You know, I think the more games he plays, the better and the sharper he'll get. I'm not too sure he benefits by playing one, being left out for one, coming back. He needs a run of games to sharpen himself up, to get into to the pace of the Premier League, to get up to Premier League fitness level, really. I thought the other night he was excellent, as I said. I thought his movement was first class on it. I think he'll benefit from that, and I would have started him again today because, as I say, I think he's a penalty box player. You know, he gets across defenders, he's sniffing about. He's a different type of player to Voltemade. Plays the game differently, plays it in different areas. And not, I just think him being on the pitch benefits us more than Voltemade. And that's not having to go with Voltemade. He just plays in a different area. You know, he plays where he's going to score goals. Where Voltemade wants to come deeper and link play and get it and neat little flicks and tricks and whatnot. But where Wissa gets himself inside the penalty area, gets himself inside the 6-yard box, gets to cross defenders. I think that's what we need.
Newcastle's players have come out onto the pitch to begin their warm-up. The goalkeepers have been out since about 1 o'clock, but the starting outfield boys have joined them. Only Villa's goalkeepers in their half of the pitch to the left at the Leazes end of St James's Park there at the moment. Unai Emery does things a little bit differently. They're obviously coming out for a late session, a late warm-up ahead of the 2 o'clock kickoff. Decent away following, though. They've taken nearly 6 blocks of level 7, so I'm sure some of those fans would have been in Turkey, in Istanbul the other night, and have made the trip to the northeast today to support Aston Villa, who have the third best Premier League away record behind Spurs. Despite their struggles, they've done well away from home, Spurs and Arsenal. Villa with 18 points and 5 wins on the road in the Premier League this season, but they haven't travelled well here. Historically, Newcastle have had the better of it, not just recently but longer term, but it's 4 wins in a row against Villa at St James's Park. If they could get another one today, they could, if some of the teams above them drop points, and a few of them are playing, they could end the day 4th on goal difference above Liverpool following their late defeat by Bournemouth yesterday. This is a big one. 2 teams that often play in high scoring competitive matches, and we'll bring it live to you on BBC Radio Newcastle and BBC Sounds from 2 o'clock. More from Eddie Howe on the way soon, but it's 1:30. Let's head back to the BBC Radio Newcastle studio and get some more details on everything else going on today and look back at some of yesterday's sporting action. Martin Emerson is with us now. Hi, Martin.
Yeah, good afternoon. We'll be talking about another team with travel sickness in a few minutes as well, because we'll be looking back on that Sunderland defeat at West Ham shortly. But there's a lot going on today. Arsenal can move 7 points clear of Manchester City at the top of the table if they win at home to Manchester United this afternoon. That one gets underway at 4:30. The Gunners have finished second in each of the last 3 seasons, and manager Mikel Arteta says his side is determined to finally lift the title.
I don't think nobody has probably more motivation, more hunger, more desire for us to go all the way and win it. But we know that the only way to do it is focusing and being very present in the moment and doing everything that we have to do today to be better than tomorrow.
Well, as well as Newcastle against Villa, there are two other 2 p.m. kick-offs this afternoon in the Premier League. Crystal Palace host Chelsea and Brentford are at home to Nottingham Forest. Now, in the Scottish Premiership, Hearts can extend their lead at the top of the table to 9 points if they beat second-place Celtic this afternoon. That's a 3 o'clock start. Third-place Rangers are currently level on points with Celtic and they host Dundee also at 3. In Women's Super League 2, Crystal Palace are currently playing at Durham. I think that one started at midday and Palace leading 1-0 in the second half there. Charlton kick off against Newcastle at 2 and Sunderland host Southampton at the same time. Now, yesterday Sunderland's men were beaten 3-1 at West Ham in what was one of their worst displays of the season. They were 3-0 down at half time before Brian Brobby scored a header in the second half. Sunderland are 10th while the Hammers are third bottom, but now only 2 points behind Forest. Captain Granit Xhaka didn't play after picking up an ankle injury, but manager Régis Lebris claims they have a good enough squad to cope without him.
I don't know yet for the time frame. We'll see. We'll have at least 2 weeks of rest and then we'll assess his injury. It's an ankle injury. We have a good squad. They have to experience different situations. This one is not comfortable, but I think we can learn more from a difficult period like that rather than sometimes just a sequence of wins.
It was the 6th defeat on the road this year for the Wearsiders. They've played 12 away games so far, but Lebris says it's important to try and keep the momentum from the early part of the season going into the final part of the season.
Yeah, it's important. We want to win points. We want to get better. After that, the challenge is tough. It's a good reminder about the level of this league. We knew before, but sometimes you look at the table, you might say it might be an easy game, but it wasn't the case at all. And I don't think we had the lack of humility, but it's a good reminder for the future.
In non-league yesterday, South Shields salvaged a point at Marine, scoring in the 98th minute to make it 2-2, and the Mariners stay top of the table in National League North. In the NPL Premier, Hebburn Town remained top following a 1-0 win over bottom side Workington, and Morpeth Town moved out of the relegation zone after beating third-placed FC United of Manchester 1-0 at Craig Park. Now, in Rugby Union, Newcastle were hammered at Saracens yesterday by 73 points to 14 in the Prem. Here's our commentator, Dean Gray.
After a poor defeat from their terms down at the Dragons last weekend, they suffered another here against the Saracen side, missing a couple of big name players and Ben Earl, Amaro Atoje certainly, but fielding an international quality squad of over 500 caps in the 23. Newcastle kicked off at a heck of a lick and scored a try in 3 minutes by Usher, converted by Connor, and then had one chalked off for Christie, which would have given them at that stage a 14-0 lead. Christie just letting his foot slide over the dead ball line in the in-goal area, so the try rightly being knocked off. Thereafter, it was Saracens traffic one way for the rest of the game, apart from the very death. Saracens led, having scored 5 tries in the first half by a margin of 33-7. And that continued throughout the second half. Newcastle grabbing a try at the end, just through sheer perseverance. Parsons getting his first try for Newcastle Red Bulls on 80 minutes. Unfortunately, Saracens continued to score and scored 40 points in the second half.
We'll be hearing from the coach Alan Dickens at half-time. It's the second round of Rugby League's Challenge Cup and Doncaster host Newcastle at 3. I'm just going to go back to the Women's Super League 2 because Palace have scored again, so they now lead Durham 2-0 after 76 minutes, goals from Sharp and Blanchard there. To tennis, and at the Australian Open in Melbourne, top seeds Carlos Alcaraz and Arina Sabalenka are both through to the quarter-finals after straight sets wins in the men's and women's games respectively. That was in the singles. Sabalenka is looking to lift the Grand Slam title for the third time in 4 years, and she'll play American teenager Iva Jovic, who only turned 18 last month, and says her goal is to compete against the sport's best players.
She's number one for a reason and had so much success at this tournament, but that's what I want. I said it last year. I hope to be able to play her this year because you definitely want to play the best and see how it goes, so I'm just really excited.
And in UFC last night, Justin Gaethje beat Liverpool's Paddy Pimblett with a unanimous decision for the interim lightweight title in Las Vegas. So coming up here on BBC Radio Newcastle, the build-up to kick-off at St James's Park will be along in a moment, and commentary to follow of Newcastle United against Aston Villa.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
The big TV show at the minute is Traitors, so I want to know, which traitor would you banish from your life? Marie from Eschwinning.
It's a cat that we rescued from outside, brought him into our lovely warm home, treat him like a king. He's sitting there as if he owns the house, totally ignoring us. My husband will come down in a minute. He'll be all over him, he'll snuggle into him, he'll get all the attention. I'm thinking, why do I never learn?
He's a traitor! Banish him, Marie!
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
Weekdays from 6. Just ask your smart speaker to play BBC Radio Newcastle. Total Sport North East.
Live from St James's Park.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Oh God, yeah. FIFA officials, FIFA delegates.
Scott Meakin, BBC Radio Newcastle.
So recently on the show, I was joined by comedian Josh Johns, who's telling us about his biggest challenge, learning to drive.
It's well scarier learning in your 30s. I did my lessons when I was 17, but I had the money for my test, but I went Magaluf and never did it. And now I'm 33 and I'm like, oh God, I wish I learned to drive. I don't think I've got the road rage in me. Well, it's only my second lesson and I think I'm quite timid. I think I'm scared. I don't think I'll be kicking off.
Scott Meakin. Weekday afternoons from 2. BBC Radio Newcastle.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Where have you been, Steve? Zanzibar. Me and my wife like remote places. We like to be out by ourselves. We could not get shot of the clean. We find it quite liberating, naked sunbathing, and we like it. Miss Julie got an eyeful, but that was because she wouldn't plumb and leave us alone. I'd go to quickly pick your towel up. My wife said she was like a ninja. She'd just hide round corners and then appear. You'd be there stark naked, trying to run and get a tan.
People are eating their tea right now and thinking of a naked Steve Howie in Zanzibar. I suspect Miss Julie is currently undergoing counselling.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle. Matt Bailey at breakfast.
The big TV show at the minute is Traitors, so I want to know, which traitor would you banish from your life? Marie from Eschwinning.
It's a cat that we rescued from outside, brought him into our lovely warm home, treat him like a king. He's sitting there as if he owns the house, totally ignoring us. My husband will come down in a minute. He'll be all over him, he'll snuggle into him, he'll get all the attention. I'm thinking, why do I never learn?
He's a traitor! Banish him, Marie!
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
Weekdays from 6. Just ask your smart speaker to play BBC Radio Newcastle.
Live from St James's Park, Newcastle United against Aston Villa. A 2 o'clock kickoff, so we've got about 20 minutes to go until they go into battle. Two teams hoping to get into the Champions League places in the Premier League this season. On the final day of last season, they were both in contention, both lost, but Newcastle got in on goal difference. Villa were very unhappy, Ando. Do you remember their defeat at Man United?
Had a goal disallowed, didn't they?
Perhaps wrongly.
Yeah.
Because they said the ball was kicked out of the goalkeeper's hands. And it couldn't be overturned.
That's the way it goes.
They ended up in the Europa League. They're doing rather well in it. They may well go on to win it. You would probably put them among the favourites. Aston Villa, Newcastle enjoying the Champions League, and they will continue to enjoy the Champions League. progress into the knockout stage confirmed. And it's just about whether they skip around, basically, go straight to the last 16 or have to go into next month's playoffs. We'll bring you commentary from the Parc des Princes PSG against Newcastle United on Wednesday, right here on BBC Radio Newcastle. Today, no Bruno. Miley in midfield. Ando lost his place at right back with Trippier fit again. So Miley, having been left out, and we thought he was unlucky to be left out for a couple of games, comes into midfield, but there's no concern, no worry there. He deserves to play. It is his preferred position. And Eddie Howe didn't go with Jacob Ramsey today against his former club. It's Miley instead.
Yeah, I think Miley's been unlucky. You know, I suppose you can look at it another way and say he's only 19 years of age, looking to protect him, looking to look after the boy. I thought he's been great at right back. He's been exceptional. Midfield's obviously his preferred position. That's where he wants to play. I think the reason he's gone with Miley is that you put Jacob Ramsey in there, you look at them three then, Tonali, Joe Linton and Ramsey, very much of a muchness, a lot the same. I think Miley is, you know, he'll get it, he'll give it, he's always in space, he'll always be an outlet, you know, he'll sit. So, but he deserves to be in. You know, he deserves to be in the performances that he's put in. You know, as I said earlier, such an old head on young shoulders. You know, he's been, nothing seems to faze him. He doesn't get flustered. He just goes and he does it. And he does it nice and simple. You know, so no worries about him going in there at all.
Pope, Trippier, Chow, Botman, Hall, Miley, Tonali, Joe Linton, who is making his 250th Newcastle United appearance today across all competitions. It's a milestone for him, a great achievement. 250 games for Joe Linton. Barnes, Gordon and Wissa. On the bench, Ramsdale, Osula, Elanga, Voltemada, Willett, Byrne, Alex Murphy, Ramsey and Shahar. Villa, Martinez in goal, Cash, Konsa, Pau Torres, Maatsen, Onana, Tielemans, who is a player that you've always rated highly, Yuri Tielemans. He's only got one goal this season, but he adds a lot of creativity and makes things happen. You liked him when he was at Leicester, and you would have liked him in a black and white shirt, wouldn't you, Tielemans?
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen him here, especially if you get him for nothing.
Yeah, he went on a free.
Yeah, he did. You know, I think he's been a really good signing for Villa. He wasn't too happy getting substituted the other night. Had a little bit of an altercation with the manager, but yeah, he's a good player. I think he uses the ball well, good passer of the ball, sees things, always finds space, and as I say, would have been a hell of a signing for nothing.
Jadon Sancho scored the winner against Fenerbahce. He's on loan from Man United, and he's part of the Villa forward line on the right. Morgan Rogers on the left. Emiliano Buendia in the 10 role behind Ollie Watkins, who was linked to Newcastle in the summer. Watkins, I don't ever really think we would have seen it happening. He's 30 now, I mean, similar age to Johan Wissa. And of course there were discussions about whether Wissa was too old to spend that sort of money on. Watkins might have been in the same price bracket, but he's a top-class Premier League centre-forward still, isn't he?
He scores goals. Didn't have the best of the starts of the season. Thought he was, when we played down there on the day of the season, thought he was poor, because last season when we played down there, he played on Shar's shoulder, and he gave him a torrid afternoon. You know, he kept looking down the channels, running in behind, getting away. He didn't do that on the day of the season. It's taken him a little bit of a while to find his form this season, but good player. Yeah, he's a good player.
The Villa bench, the goalkeeper Bizot, Lindelof, formerly of Man United, joined at the end of the summer transfer window as a free agent. Digne, Mings, Bogard, Hemmings, Bailey, Elliott and Gesson. In charge of the match today, the Australian referee Jared Gillett. last time he was here was the last time Newcastle lost at home in the Premier League against Arsenal at the end of September. John Brooks is the VAR. Villa have got a couple of players out. John McGinn, we mentioned earlier, Boubacar Kamara, both of whom would normally start. Ross Barkley's injured as well, all with knee problems, but they have got the goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez back from a calf problem. 5 changes for them, 1 for Newcastle, Miley for the injured. Bruno as the outfield players make their way towards the near touchline and head towards the tunnel. Among them is Anthony Gordon with long sleeves and gloves on for the warm-up. Gordon, more than a year since he scored from open play in the Premier League. That's a statistic that's been doing the rounds recently. Has scored some penalties in that time and some pressure penalties as well. But it's a different story for Gordon in Europe, as Eddie Howe knows, because he has 6 Champions League goals this season.
Just random things happen in football. I think he could have easily scored in the Premier League. He saved his goals for the Champions League. It's a strange one to work out how and why these things happen. I've been pleased with his contribution, I think, for a while in both competitions. I think he's consistently hit the physical levels that we ask. I think he's consistently hit the attitude that we need. So I've been pleased. I still feel there's more to come from him. I think he's an outstanding player, and I think he can deliver great things for us, whether that's creating goals, scoring goals himself. So I still feel there's more in there for him, but he's really committing, and I think he's really trying, and he's really trying to help the team in lots of different phases. The goals are always the things that everyone else will focus on, but I was pleased with his return on Wednesday, and hopefully it's the start of a good run for him.
He was part of a front three, John Anderson, that functioned really well together against PSV. Possibly the front three that a lot of supporters would want to see all the time, even if it means Harvey Barnes is out of position on the right, because Gordon, as the manager said recently, wants to play on the left and is not really as open to Barnes is to being on the right hand side.
Yeah, they both want to play on the left, but you can only accommodate one of them at this moment in time. Gordon has got the nod to play on the left hand side. I always think Barnes is more of a goal threat. I know that Anthony Gordon has scored goals in the Champions League, but hasn't scored in the Premier League, where when Barnes gets into certain areas in and around the penalty area, you fancy him. You always fancy him. When Gordon gets in around those same areas, you don't. Barnes is a far better finisher than Gordon is and will be. But look, he contributes in other ways. His work rate, he gets up and down, he helps full-backs out, chases a paper bag, he closes goalkeepers down, chases in after centre-backs. So he's obviously doing what Eddie Howe wants him to do. That's the reason that he's a regular starter in the side.
We should mention Gordon scored a great curling shot from outside the box in this fixture last season on Boxing Day, didn't he? But I think, more generally, your point about Barnes, who was on 12 goals this season, 3 ahead of Gordon and Voltemada for Newcastle's top scorer. He is more reliable consistently from open play, Harvey Barnes, and can do it off either side of the attack as well, which is certainly a strength that he has in his game, and that's one of the reasons why Eddie Howe is keen to try him there on the right and
he'd sooner play on the left, and he'd be the first to admit that, but you can't play both of them. You want both of them in the side. One of them's got to make sacrifices at this moment in time. It's Barnes who's been sacrificed, but it's not affecting his game because he keeps coming up with a goal.
Newcastle 8th in the Premier League, dropping a place yesterday after Fulham climbed the table following their late win over Brighton. They would need results today. Chelsea at Palace to drop points, Brentford to fail to beat Forest, Man United to lose at Arsenal later on, which you might think is a good bet. Who knows? Or possibly a draw in that one, and Newcastle win by a couple of goals. So a few things need to happen, but they could be as high as 4 today, but it's still really tight from probably 4th down to maybe 13th. Only 6 points from Liverpool in 4th spot to Bournemouth, occupying currently 13th position in the table. The next few matches, across competitions, Paris Saint-Germain, Liverpool, Man City the second leg, Brentford here, that's the only home game in the next 7 after this. It doesn't include a potential Champions League playoff round tie where the second leg would be at home, but then they've got Spurs away in the Premier League, Villa again in the Cup next month, Man City in the Premier League. It's a tough run, isn't it, in Premier League, Champions League, League Cup and FA Cup. Today is really important. A win would be huge.
Yeah, it'd be great to get a win today, there's no doubt about that, because when you look at the run of games that you've just mentioned there, it's difficult to see an easy game, so to speak. There's no easy games in there at all. It's all against top sides. Brentford have had an incredible season. Yes, we've got to go to Manchester City for the second leg of the League Cup. 2 down and that, but you never know. We've then got to go to Villa in an FA Cup tie. Never easy again. Got to go to Liverpool next Saturday night. Absolute nightmare. So it doesn't get any easier. We've had a spell where we've had an awful lot of home games and not too many away games, but now it's turned itself on its head, hasn't it, where all of a sudden all the games are away from home.
The commentary today from BBC Radio Newcastle will also be on the BBC Sounds app. So if you have a smart speaker, ask it to play BBC Radio Newcastle. 10 minutes until they get underway here at St James's Park. As we've been discussing there, the fixtures to come, some difficult games. 9 matches in the month of January alone. Next month will be busier, could be busier if they finish in the playoff spots in the Champions League. It's a hectic schedule, and it doesn't just affect the players as well, because it's relentless for the man at the top, for Eddie Howe too.
I don't sleep much, and my social life is zero, probably zero anyway, to be honest. So no, I think it's a case of time management's really important. I think prioritising certain things really, really important as well. I always want to be there for my players. I always want to help them. I always want to try and give them my time. So that's the priority number one, and then everything else sort of takes second priority to that. But of course the games, there's a lot of work that goes into the games, the analysis, whether it's our game, scouting the opposition, trying to come up with your plans that you feel can help us win the game. It's a busy month, but I don't think it's just January. I think we've been used to this way of working. You get a routine, and that's pretty much been our whole season.
And Aston Villa, your opponents on Sunday, like you, they're managing a European schedule on top of all the domestic football. How well do you think they've done in the Premier League this season? You look at their position in the table, although they lost last weekend, so I'm sure you'd want to compliment them on that. Yeah, I think they've had a great season so far. I think Unai's an outstanding coach. I really enjoy watching his teams. Clear way of playing, clear structures within their style of play. They found ways to win games this season, tight games. They found ways to win, and they've gone on a really, really good run, which, as we know, is very difficult to do in the Premier League. It's the hardest thing, and they've been able to do it, and it's elevated them into a great position. So full credit to him and his players. European success as well, so that brings its own challenges, as we found this season and for, seasons gone by. So full credit to them. We know this will be a really difficult game. We met on the first day of the season, and I thought it was a really competitive game, and let's hope we can bring our A game in this one.
Total Sport North East.
Matthew Raisbeck and black and white legend John Anderson.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
One change made by Eddie Howe today, enforced with Bruno out of the squad because of injury. Lewis Miley is brought into the starting 11 in midfield. And we also see the return of Dan Burn, who got a huge cheer from the supporters when his name was read out over the public address system on the bench after injury, along with William Osula, who returns to the squad. Pope, Trippier, Chow, Botman, Hall, Miley, Tanali, Joelinton, Barnes, Gordon, Wissa is the 11, Ramsdale, Osula, Elanga, Voltemada, Willock, Byrne, Alex Murphy, Ramsey and Shahar on the bench. What about Jacob Ramsey? And the Villa supporters, they were all clapping and cheering when his name was called out when Newcastle's bench was being announced to the crowd. Probably would have stayed at Aston Villa if he could have done. Felt very much like a move for PSR to help Villa. We like what we've seen of him, but he's not necessarily hit the heights that he did at times in an Aston Villa shirt. There's definitely a lot more to come.
It's been difficult for him.
But difficult to get a run in the team.
It's been difficult for him. I mean, we spoke about Wissa earlier on, and he needs a run of games. Jacob Ramsey is exactly the same. He needs a run of games in the side where they're going to come and where he's going to dislodge any of those midfielders. It's a difficult one for him. But yeah, I like him. I liked him when he was at Villa. I think he covers the ground well. I just think he needs a run of games, but it's difficult at this moment in time to see where them run of games are going to come from.
Well, left Aston Villa in the summer, Newcastle United his destination. It's interesting, these two. We've talked about the way that they have looked at the Premier League's financial rules and how they've had to cope with the restrictions there. They've kind of alternated in terms of Champions League, haven't they? Newcastle a couple of years ago, Villa last season got to a quarter-final. This year it's Newcastle's turn. Villa look a safe bet for a top 4 or probably top 5 enough again for Champions League football. They don't have the financial power of some of their rivals at the top, and that battle with PSR is ongoing. But Newcastle and Aston Villa have definitely upset the established order at the top of the Premier League in recent times.
I'm never a believer that finances should and can dictate the league table, although everyone will tell me that the people or the teams with the highest wage bills will ultimately finish in the higher league positions. People much cleverer than me will say that the wage bill follows the league position, but I can't think that way. We've got to think differently, and we've got to try and find ways to still win games, to upset sort of the status quo and finish as high as we can, and that will always be my belief, and that was my belief from day one in management. So football's played on the pitch, not with the money.
They've certainly been disruptors, haven't they, Ando? Newcastle and Aston Villa, more so than any other clubs over the last few seasons. You look at the way that they play, they get about teams, they can upset and get under the skin on the pitch, and they've probably done that in general, both off the pitch as well, haven't they, with their successes that they've had in recent times. So there is a rivalry, and for Black and Whites it goes back to the relegation in 2009 in particular, which was confirmed at Villa Park on an awful final day. But there are a lot of similarities between the present Aston Villa and Newcastle United, aren't there? And they're both trying to achieve the same things in many ways.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you would say similar sized clubs. Villa, rich history. Villa, of course, already won a European Cup. So both trying to break the monopoly, so to speak, of those so-called bigger clubs who seem to be in the same places season after season. But PSR and everything else, you've got to be very, very careful. Hopefully, at the end of the season, with PSR being done away with, things will hopefully change for the better.
The two teams shake hands, and Newcastle's players sprint off towards the Gallagher end goal. Villa high-fiving referee Jared Gillett and his two assistants, Neil Davies and Steve Meredith. Rob Jones is the fourth official today. John Brooks assisted by Gary Bezic on VAR this afternoon. And And it's black and white stripes, black shorts and black socks. They were in white, weren't they, against PSV, which was a bit of a change, but back to black shorts and black socks. Pope all in yellow in the Newcastle goal. Martinez in a bright red goalkeeping kit. Same for his gloves and boots. So he is colour coordinated throughout. Villa, the claret and blue shirts, the light blue is on the sleeves, white shorts and light blue socks. Referee with a bright blue shirt, black shorts and socks. Kieran Trippier has Newcastle's captain's armband today. He's in the centre circle, waiting for Ezri Konsa of Aston Villa to pose along with some mascots and the match ball for a pre-match photo. There's a cameraman on the pitch getting some close-up shots of Newcastle's players all high-fiving each other while the coin toss goes on. Bruno's won the toss more often than not this season. Let's see how Kieran Trippier does and whether they'll get to shoot their preferred way in the first half here at St James's Park. Villa, Martinez, Cash, Konsa, Pau Torres, Maatsen,
turn them around.
Tielemans, Sancho, Buendia, Rodgers, Watkins. And Newcastle, Pope, Trippier, Chow, Botman, Hall, Miley, Tonali, Joelinton, Barnes, Gordon, Wissa, but Eddie Howe does have Byrne and Osula back on the bench, but no Bruno today because of injury. Yeah, going to kick downhill to the Gallagher end in the first half.
Yeah, lost the toss. Konsa immediately turned him around.
Yeah. Well, to some people it matters, to others perhaps less so. Just have to try and open up a lead in the first half, kicking downhill. Lewis Miley is going to get the match started. Aston Villa third in the table, but a busy week for them. Late flight back from Istanbul on Thursday night. Newcastle United 2 home games this week ahead of a big run of away games across 4 competitions, but a chance to go up as high as 4th in the Premier League table with a win this afternoon. We're underway on BBC Radio Newcastle, Newcastle United website and app, and BBC Sounds. Villa have got the ball. It goes back to the goalkeeper Martinez. Buendia in midfield. Now Maatsen, the fullback, brought in one of 5 changes today. Forwards to halfway. Chow on. Now Joelinton and Wissa trying to find Barnes. Inside to Joelinton, who wins a block challenge edge of the area. Plays it to Tonali. Rides a couple of challenges. Tonali in the area. Big save from Martinez. No! Where's the ball going to drop? Just past the post. Martinez grabs it to prevent the corner. Almost in front after 40 seconds. Tonali cutting
great feet
in and out, got the shot off. Martinez with a huge save.
Oh, great feet, wasn't it? Brilliant. Great save, goalkeeper. Thought it hit his feet and it looped into the back of the net. Hadn't, unfortunately.
Villa up the right wing to Rodgers. Lewis Hall makes a challenge, gets pulled back a bit. Hall then gets bundled over, and a free kick awarded the way of Newcastle United. So they've had an attack, they've done some good defending there, but Tonali, he had Wissa
twinkle toes, wasn't it?
He could have, I think, rolled it to Wissa. We'd want to see it again properly. Joelinton did well in the build-up. Tonali free edge of the area, thought he was going to play it to Wissa, took it around the defender on the inside, but Martinez with his legs made the save.
He couldn't play it to Wissa. Wissa's too close to him. He has to take the shot on. Wissa sideways on. He's coming on to a Tonali. He's done everything right. It's just a top save, isn't it?
They were so close to a dream start. Now Gordon dragged to the floor. 10 yards ahead of halfway. Whistle's gone for a Newcastle free kick, but that's well, an exciting start, if not the perfect one. We're in the 3rd minute now. Chow to Barnes. Miley goes ahead up the line. Barnes inside to Trippier, who gives it back to him under pressure and plays it to Chow. Botman in the middle of Newcastle's half. Plays a forward pass to Joelinton, manages to hold it, then Tonali looking for Gordon, but it's intercepted by Cash, and now Onana, the big midfielder, a big presence for Aston Villa. Backwards to Martinez. For all he winds up fans of opposing teams, he's a great goalkeeper, and he showed his ability there with that important early save. Watkins now for Villa, who are trying to get into Newcastle's penalty area.
Nobody in there though.
Well, when the centre forward comes out wide, there's usually no one in the middle. They've worked it here to Rodgers, who has a cross which is deflected behind. And Unai Emery.
Oh, he's not happy with the intensity of his side at this moment, aren't we?
Waving his
4 minutes
around.
in.
He is pretty agitated as a presence on the touchline, whatever the score, Emery. And the Villa boss flinging his arms at his players. Their set-piece coach, who's quite a prominent figure, Austin McPhee, with his long hair, has gone out. And there is an out-swinging corner from the right, which is headed up by Watkins. Maatsen at the edge of the box, back into the middle. Botman rises, brought down by Konsa on the edge of the penalty area. Tielemans lifts it in, too high for Watkins. Well marshalled by Trippier. Goal kick.
Yeah, good defending, Trippier. Just eased them out of the way, didn't he?
They play it short to Botman. Wissa leaps. Pau Torres behind him gets the header. Gordon nods it forwards. Villa away from the halfway line. Buendia, who's played an important role this season. He's got 6 goals. He's won it from Tonali in midfield. Then Miley with a challenge, and Buendia with a shot that Pope pats down, who chases after the loose ball and gathers it away from his posts, left-hand side. Buendia had it, Tonali tried to win it, Buendia got it back and was able to release a shot from about 20 yards.
A save you'd expect them to make, wasn't it? Patted it down.
Botman edge of the area, over to Chow. Trippier up the line. Chow puts his foot on the ball, stops the play. Tonali comes in between centre-backs. He was there a lot the other night against PSV, wasn't it? Onto Miley, who's in a central spot near the halfway line now. And Hall collects, goes on the outside of Sancho. Plays it to Gordon, who comes inside. Wissa's dropped off. Plays it to Miley, around the corner for Trippier. Flag stays down, headed into the box by Trippier.
Yeah, you could see what he was trying to do. He was trying to pick Barnes out, wasn't he?
Gathered by Martinez, near post.
Just a little too much on the header.
And the Villa goalkeeper kicks from his hands, looking for Watkins. Chow's header, Trippier volleys it to Botman. That's good defending, good technique there. Doing the right things, Newcastle. Joelinton is challenged on the far touchline, and Aston Villa get a throw up towards Rodgers, near to the corner. Joelinton wins it back, brings it into the penalty area, tries to bring it away from Rodgers. Referee was attempting to let an advantage go, but there was no real advantage, and then Joelinton was clearly being impeded. So
I don't see why you want to give advantage on the edge of your own penalty area when you're defending.
Yeah, unless you can get the ball up the pitch quickly, but yeah, because it's such a risky part of the field.
Just blow your whistle and give the free kick,
which he's done anyway, because he didn't see the advantage. Jared Gillett. 7th minute on BBC Radio Newcastle. Barnes trying to roll Maatsen, and he's got the ball. Buendia's come out to the near side. Barnes trying to come in away from 2 challenges, and he has just about done so. Newcastle keep the attack alive. Wissa to Barnes in the area, back towards Wissa. Sliding challenge from Villa, from Onana, to stop United getting a shot away. Barnes wriggled free somehow and kept them going all the way into the box. This is Tonali. Looked like he was going to play a long ball forwards, actually came back with it. Now they're on the right. Barnes on for Miley, that's well played. Miley's cross, which is in front of goal, but Wissa was at the edge of the penalty area.
Wasn't the worst ball, was it?
Put out for a throw.
Yeah, Gordon needs to attack that back post area. You seen where he was 10-15 yards outside the penalty area.
Yeah, if he comes in back post, tries, corner of the 6-yard box, which is close to where Cash was when he put it out for a throw, then you'd be coming onto it for an effort on goal. They've gone backwards with the throw, then Trippier looking for Hall, who is sliding and attempted to keep it in. Is applauded by supporters and by Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall, but just beat him, and it's an Aston Villa goal kick. 0-0. BBC Radio Newcastle, and we're also on the BBC Sounds app today. If you've got BBC Sounds and you're going to be out and about, or you just want to listen through your phone, then make sure you search for BBC Radio Newcastle for all the action from St James's Park. We'll check on some other scores and other results shortly. Martinez has taken the goal kick eventually, but the referee has stopped play and wants it done again. We don't get any of the communication from the officials. We don't know what's going on, what he's saying to players, and that applies to VAR checks as well, things like that. I'm not sure what was wrong with that, but he's gone forwards with it again, brought down by Sancho, tackled by Trippier, back to Pope, and now out to Hall. It's been an entertaining start.
Yeah, it's been good, hasn't it?
Tonali almost put Newcastle ahead in the first minute, but it remains goalless. Gordon, tidy play, finding Tonali, then Hall back to Botman. Drives it over to the near side. Trippier on his chest on the touchline. Up to Miley, who now crosses halfway, trying to stretch Villa and get it in behind for Barnes, but it's cut out by Maatsen. Joelinton with a good challenge. Wissa could play in, Barnes, and does. Barnes cross blocked. Corner. Joelinton at it again, recovering possession in midfield as Villa try to go forwards. Wissa had his head up, rolled it to Barnes right side. He was trying to square it for Gordon, but Villa got it behind.
Yeah, just didn't make good contact on the cross, did he? Hit it into the ground.
Lewis Hall comes over to the near side. Newcastle's right to take the corner. And they've got Gordon by the back post. Everybody else is beyond the back post. Tonali's penalty spot. Hall, it's deep. Oh, it's flicked away, and it's going to be
goal kick.
A goal kick. Flicked away from goal somewhere towards the back post. Jared Gillett had a look. It came off Pau Torres. It should have been a corner. And he didn't really know what to do there.
Hard to tell, wasn't it?
Yeah, we couldn't tell from our position, but he was a lot closer. It was a bit of a confused reaction from some Newcastle players, and that would be why. Anyway, they've got it back. Joelinton to Botman on the edge of their own box. Hall is on the touchline, rolls it up to the feet of Gordon, who plays it back towards Hall, but it's intercepted. Aston Villa have it, then Joelinton makes a challenge. Villa keep it with Sancho looking for Watkins. Chow's tried to block it. Watkins has rolled wide. Chow tried to block it, but it ran through for Watkins, who got the shot away, and it's a corner for Aston Villa. The effort rolled just past the post. Malik Chow may have got a touch, may have deflected it. I don't think Pope saved it. Villa just wide, but it is a corner.
Yeah, I mean, Chow got it all wrong, didn't he?
Pope did save it.
Good save. Chow's just got to put his foot through that, just got to defend it. Keepers bailed him out.
To be fair to Chow, after it came off him and ran for Watkins, he got across. He may have deflected the shot, and then it hit Pope on the side of the leg. Another stop with his legs and went wide, left side. Villa take a short corner, then they give it back to Tielemans. Deep cross. One Aston Villa player took it off another. Pau Torres headed it over the bar with Matty Cash charging in, arriving late behind him.
Yeah, if he had left it, Cash had a free header, didn't he?
And the Spanish defender is still explaining that situation to Matty Cash as he makes his way back down the pitch. Newcastle, long ball towards Barnes. It's come from Miley, who turns and finds some space. Now Tonali back to Chow, who steps over the ball and plays it slightly behind Botman. Up towards Wissa, laid off but into space and collected by Buendia for Villa. Watkins slips it through and the cross from Sancho is blocked. It runs out towards the corner. It's going to be an Aston Villa throw on the far side.
Good game. Said they were evenly matched, didn't we?
0-0 here, but Igor Jesus has given Nottingham Forest a 1-0 lead at Brentford, which would be good news for Newcastle. Brentford above them. Palace 0, Chelsea 0 in the other Premier League, 2 o'clock. The Aston Villa throw is into the penalty area, looking for Onana. Joelinton heads away. Tielemans plays it to the feet of Konsa on the right, and he moves it inside to Pau Torres. Ball up to Watkins, just outside the area. Watkins with an effort that he didn't really get hold of. Nick Pope makes a comfortable save. I think the ball was going wide anyway.
Emery shows all the emotions, doesn't he, on the touchline? Look.
He's very active. He participates in the game, doesn't he? The Villa manager. Eddie Howe out there as well. Not quite as animated as Mr. Emery, but still trying to help his players from the sidelines. Back it goes to Martinez. Chow with a header into midfield. Buendia backwards. Wissa almost nicked it. Onana has it at the back of the centre circle, plays it to Konsa. Joelinton charges forwards from midfield to put pressure on. Onana now to Pau Torres, up to Buendia, who lays it off. Botman, good sliding challenge. And Barnes tried to weave his way through some challenges. Jared Gillett says no foul as Barnes goes down. Villa have it back. Buendia, one off him by Trippier. Barnes to Miley. Newcastle 0, Aston Villa 0. Joelinton to Botman. And here's Tonali. And now Malik Chow. Botman and Chow switch sides, perhaps temporarily. Tonali in between them. Gordon on the far left touchline. And he's right on the touchline. He comes to get it now, just past halfway from Chow's ball. Gordon knocks it around Sancho and keeps going and takes on Cash and delivers a cross that is stabbed away by Pau Torres, brought down by Lewis Hall, who beats a couple of challengers. Hall into the area, out to Gordon again. Tries to dig out another cross, it's deflected. Tielemans away. Barnes is there on the left to nod it to Tonali, and Trippier plays it inside. It's blocked. Tonali's won it back. Buendia's got it for Villa, who win it back themselves, and now Rodgers over halfway. 5 black and white shirts back, only 2, and now 3 forwards for Villa. Watkins left side, out to Rodgers again in the penalty area. Rodgers away from Trippier. Rodgers across the face of goal, and Lewis Hall swings it clear. End to end, but 0-0.
Yeah, good stuff.
Maatsen to Rodgers, the England international, who's enjoying a great season. They were outnumbered in that attack, but they almost made it matter. Lewis Hall got back for Newcastle to clear. Here's Onana, almost tackled by Gordon, who was working really hard to win the ball for United. Villa keep possession at the back. Pau Torres on a roam up the pitch towards the edge of the United box. Tielemans dragging it back, looking right and left, and still has it. Goes backwards to Konsa in the centre circle. 17 minutes played. Konsa has it again. He's in his own half here. Wissa goes to close down. Now Miley comes across to challenge Pau Torres. Long ball forwards. Goal kick. There's threat at both ends, isn't there?
Yeah, it's an open game, isn't it? Both teams getting forward. Villa not committing as many claret and blue shirts forward when they break, though. They don't commit too many people into the penalty area.
Eddie Howe's just been having a word with Harvey Barnes as Nick Pope prepares to take the goal kick. Aston Villa have it back. Rodgers has lost out to Tonali, but the Italian's touch comes out to the near touch line, and it's Maatsen for Villa. And now Buendia, he's started sharply, whips it over to Cash, having turned on it in midfield. Tielemans to Rodgers, to Buendia, thinking about a shot, edge of the area. What a goal from Buendia. Well, he has started brilliantly, the Argentinian, and he's put Aston Villa ahead at St James's Park in the 19th minute with a dipping shot from the edge of the area. An end-to-end game. Newcastle could have taken the lead in the first minute. Aston Villa are the side who score first, though, through Buendia's 7th of the season, and they lead by a 1-0.
Good strike, isn't it? Good goal. They walk the ball well. Buendia does great in the build-up to it. Great switch of play. Tielemans, little give and go round the corner. There's that little ball round the corner. Little bit of space, decides to take the shot on. Good goal.
That's a terrific strike from Buendia. He gets it up and away from Pope, and then it dips. Nick Pope got across at full stretch with his right arm, but never stopping that. Possibly a goal of the month contender from Buendia. Newcastle United 0, Aston Villa 1. Joe Linton holding off Onana and winning a free kick. In the United half, they've got to respond. Tries to get themselves level. Hall rolls it across to the near side to Chow, up to Trippier. He's in Villa's half. Barnes in the middle. Trippier tried to lift it into the box for him, but it's too close to Martinez. And Martinez's kick, looking for Watkins. Chow wins the knockdown for Trippier, inside to Botman, onto Miley. He's got a man on, plays it first time to Tonali, who takes it forwards. That's good from Newcastle in midfield. Tonali still going. Oh, Tonali, he's got a problem there. Looks like it might be his ankle. I don't know if he twisted it or got a kick. Joe Linton fighting really hard to win the ball back.
Hey.
A yellow card for Joe Linton, who's kicked Tielemans on the way down. Tonali's down for Newcastle, Tielemans down for Villa. Joe Linton was really physical there. Tonali was carrying it, and then just straight away you knew there was a problem when he stopped. Johan Wissa is checking on him. The physio's ready to come on. Don't know if it was a kick or a twist, or perhaps he pulled something. He will get some treatment here. And Joe Linton conceded a free kick, at least to stop the Villa counter-attack. The away side lead 1-0 though, and Newcastle already without Bruno today. And in the 10 matches that Bruno hasn't started since his debut for Newcastle, they haven't won any of them Premier League games. He is here watching from the stands, but it's a worrying record when he doesn't play. And Tonali, who had the big chance after 40 seconds, is getting some extensive treatment on the pitch. It's his right foot or ankle. Jacob Ramsey and Joe Willock are warming up. Match will restart with an Aston Villa free kick at the back of the centre circle. I mean, without Bruno, he can't afford to lose Tonali as well.
No.
Did you see?
No, I didn't see any.
Did the Villa player chasing?
Didn't see anything at all.
Did he catch it?
I don't know whether it's a twist or whether he stood on or. He's got his boot off. Looks like he's all right.
He's trying to put his boot back on, but he'll have to come off the pitch. Jacob Ramsey returns to the bench, followed by Joe Willock. 23rd minute at St James's Park, and United trail 1-0. Tonali is joined by the doctor, and Eddie Howe goes to see him. Fourth official is there as well. He's walking back towards the halfway line. Eddie Howe gives him a hand on the shoulder and has a word, so they're going to try to get him back on, but they have 10 men at the moment, Newcastle, and Aston Villa with the ball back in play. BBC Radio Newcastle and BBC Sounds not going their way, not going the way it usually does against Villa at home. A goal down, great strike from Buendia. Onana gets it back from Sancho on halfway, lifts it up the line. Watkins makes the run out towards the right corner. Cash is behind him, plays it to the fullback, who turns, can't get a cross in. Watkins obviously out of the middle. Tonali comes back onto the pitch. Morgan Rogers for Villa, roll to Watkins, who's now in the penalty area, laid off to Cash, tries to dig out a shot, Newcastle block, and Botman pushes it clear. Onana miscues his back pass, but Martinez gets there comfortably, middle of the Villa half. Chow plants a header on the ball forwards from the keeper. Just keep an eye on Tonali, Ando.
He's offside.
Over the
He's
top
offside.
for Watkins. Flag doesn't come up. Nick Pope has it, but it did seem a long way offside. Joe Linton in midfield, sliding challenge. Tonali driving onto the ball. Good play in the centre, out to the right. Trippier and now Barnes, edge of the area. Barnes cross blocked. They've got into some good crossing positions, and Villa have repelled all of the deliveries. Haven't been able to pick anybody out in the middle. Quickly taken throw by Newcastle now on the right, level with the edge of the box. Trippier for Miley and Chow. Here's Botman. Gordon has it, closed down by Cash. Gordon with a step over, goes on the outside, and his cross goes behind without a touch. So it's a goal kick for Martinez.
Yeah, Tonali looks like he's moving okay. Didn't look as if he was carrying anything when he brushed through from midfield there.
Wissa and Gordon are on the edge of the area. Villa look like they're going to go long with it. In fact, no, Martinez runs to the ball and decides to play it short to Pau Torres. Back to the goalkeeper, who has another touch, an extra one that encouraged Wissa to close him down. Then Martinez lifts it away. Hall with a header. Joe Linton and Tonali, nice play on the left. Joe Linton, strong run, sliding tackle to stop him. There's two Villa players down, both rolling around. They still have the ball, and they're looking long for Watkins, who takes it down in the box.
He
but
couldn't take it.
Lands on his touch. Referees whistle to stop the game as Newcastle play out from the back. Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall go to the fourth official, and it's not often that Howe gets involved. Joe Linton is yellow carded for a challenge, presumably, that left one of the Villa players in a heap on the floor. Newcastle under no obligation to kick the ball out, but the referee had the chance to stop the game earlier and didn't, and he let Villa go on the attack. Watkins took a touch on the long ball, lifted into the box away from Chow, but it was heavy and it allowed Nick Pope to come and claim it. And Joe Linton with the challenge.
Stood on both of them.
It was Cash the second one, and the first one was...
Onana was the first one.
Thank you. So he was yellow card.
He needs to be careful.
Still Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall speak to the fourth official, Rob Jones. And Aston Villa with their medical team on. And another pause in the match. Villa lead 1-0 through Buendia's goal. Great strike. Dipping shot across Nick Pope from outside the penalty area. Joelinton booked. Onana, you've just seen it again. Do you think VAR should review it?
No.
It studs onto the inside of the ankle, isn't it?
Yeah.
As he's stretching for the ball, then he
does the boy his Achilles then.
Yeah.
Could have been built for both of them.
Onana still getting treatment. It's helped to his feet. Joelinton walks off on his own. Newcastle had the ball and will have the chance to restart the match when the referee picks it up and gives it back to them. They're going to have to go a bit further back with it to restart from the correct position, which was near to the penalty area at the left. Jared Gillett following protocols, the laws of the game. Nick Pope gives it to Sandro Tonali, and away go Newcastle. Villa down to 10 players. Jared Gillett's in the way of Tonali. He wanted to pass it to Chow. It gets there eventually. Chow to Trippier and out off Watkins. Tonali to Hall, left side of central midfield. Lewis Hall. Gordon is available wide and gets it. Sancho with him. Gordon cuts in, rolls it to Miley. Referee was in the way again a little bit. Miley, ball lifted in. Trippier's cross put behind by Pau Torres, near post, but offside, I think, against Trippier. So no corner. Eddie Howe applauds, as does Unai Emery.
Yeah, he's well offside.
Telling the referee that Martinez is taking the free kick from the wrong place. Onana's back on. Newcastle 0, Aston Villa 1. Martinez, plenty of height on that ball. Miley,
great header,
gets it away. Villa play it forward, straight against Miley. Then they've got it back the away side, and Watkins here approaching the edge of the penalty area. Joelinton makes a challenge and wins the ball. Lewis Hall's trying to prevent a corner, and does, at the expense of a throw 15 yards out on the Villa right, which they've taken. Cash to Onana. They've been more in control of it, Aston Villa, since the goal, haven't they, Endo? But I think before it was more end to end. Would you agree?
Yeah, Dave, it's been a good game.
Back to Martinez. Newcastle push up the pitch. The keeper's passes out to Pau Torres. Miley gets a toe on the ball, and the centre back has to go back to Martinez, who gets it clear comfortably. Trippier with a header, nodded to Barnes, who's got 2 on him and can't keep the ball. Maatsen away. Chow comes across. Trippier brings it under control. Looks for Joelinton on halfway, who does well to take it and then play it to Miley. May have been fouled. Referee says play on. Miley's delivery. Conscious clearance has gone up. Barnes trying to win it from Pau Torres. Then Wissa goes flying in the box. Some fans appeal for a high foot. Wissa doesn't. And Martinez picks the ball up. And then Martinez throws himself to the floor as Wissa went to try and win it. And there was a bit of contact, but it's typical Emiliano Martinez nonsense. Just to try and spoil and upset the crowd. And you will not be surprised to learn that he's helped up to his feet by Ezri Konsa and is absolutely fine.
Yeah. Gives him a little nudge, that's all. And as they all do nowadays, they make a meal of it.
Still 1-0 behind Newcastle. Botman backpedaling with a good header. Tonali towards Hall. Oh, he's taken it inside, almost lost it to Watkins. Botman steps in to help him out, and Botman wins a free kick. Jared Gillett's whistle has gone.
Oh, that's it. Ooh.
Rodgers made the challenge, but you don't agree, Lando. Matson, long ball up the pitch for Newcastle. Villa win it back, and they've got to run it here. Buendia forwards over halfway for Rodgers. This could be dangerous. They're standing off him. Looks for Watkins, brings it inside. Buendia shot after Watkins teed it up straight at Pope.
I don't think he meant to tee it up. I think he meant to take that himself, you know. Watkins, and it just gets away from him. Yeah, that's not a tee up.
Hall up the line, looking for Gordon, out of play. Botman wins a header from the Villa throw. Hall's got it again and wins a throw, this time for Newcastle, tackled by Watkins. 34 minutes on the clock. Live on BBC Radio Newcastle, the BBC Sounds app, and if you have a smart speaker, ask it to play BBC Radio Newcastle. Listen to us through that. Aston Villa win it back from the throw. They are definitely the better side at the moment, and they have the lead. Onana with a turn back inside towards central midfield, 30 yards out. Matson joining the attack on the left. Villa play it back towards halfway, and Pau Torres. Pau's ball along the halfway line to Konsa. It is back to Pau Torres, chip forwards. Trippier takes a touch, he's got Watkins at his back, up to Barnes, flicks it inside, straight to Rodgers. Buendia up the line, Watkins, great first touch. Villa really sharp passing, Watkins into the area, Trippier's tackle, and he wins a goal kick. Last touch was off Ollie Watkins, but they moved it so quickly and so well there, didn't they, Aston Villa?
Yeah, they've passed it well, haven't they, Villa?
Been a goal at Selhurst Park. It's Crystal Palace 0, Chelsea 1. Estevao, still Brentford 0, Forest 1, and Newcastle 0, Aston Villa 1. So all the away teams are leading in the 2 o'clocks. Whistler adjudged to have fouled Onana in the centre circle. Jadon Sancho, chance to attack, goes on the outside of Hall. Crosses it towards the near post. Botman blocks, and his clearance goes out. It was an exciting start, but it's been probably frustrating for supporters to watch, particularly since the goal. Obviously going behind is bad enough, but Aston Villa are looking good. Newcastle not really had a big chance, John Anderson, have they, since the Tonali effort in the first minute?
No, after 40 seconds.
Cash on halfway. Rodgers to Sancho, scoops it up, and Rodgers makes the run up the right wing. His ball into the middle is pushed away by Chow, straight to Tielemans. They're getting to every second ball, Aston Villa. Tielemans clips it into the area, Botman heads it back, and Pope comes and claims, with Rodgers making a run in from the right. This is Gordon. Tonali makes a burst into the forward line. Gordon over the halfway line. He's got 2 on him. He's won a free kick. Tonali back to Botman and Chow. Trippier gets it, plays it back inside to Sven Botman. Ilanga, Byrne, Sula, Voltemada warming up. Miley for Bruno is the only change to Newcastle's team. Here is Lewis Miley. Tried to play it onto Tonali, but Tielemans blocked that ball off. It's back to Botman. Now Wissa, who's been pushed over by Pau Torres in the centre circle. Free kick played already by Tonali to Miley. Trippier in space on this near touchline. Miley carries on his run after playing it. Now crosses. Miley's deep ball. Villa head it behind.
Great ball. What a ball that was, dug out.
Great cross. dropping towards the back post, and it had to be dealt with.
Yeah, it's a fabulous ball. Takes the goalkeeper out of it. To be fair, Villa dealt with it, defended it well. Trippier goes across to that far side, whip it in right foot.
Yeah, here comes the corner, and they again line up beyond the back post, but they've got a couple of players in the 6-yard box as well. Deep from Trippier, headed back across the goal by a Villa defender. And Sancho's got it now, edge of the area, goes around Trippier, who slips. Oh, and Matsson's completely free in the middle. Tielemans trying to find him. Tenali is there. Pope comes out of his area, and Nick Pope slides in brilliantly to clear and finds Joelinton on halfway. He's nutmegged Buendia and got it to Miley. Matsson's left a big gap. Miley onto Joelinton. Tackled by
Great
Onana.
tackle.
Great defending from Onana. And then Rodgers has given it straight to Trippier. Now Wissa outside the penalty area, back to Trippier. Newcastle just looked a bit short of ideas there. Chow and Miley, and Trippier drags it back, flicks it to Chow. Here's Tonali, got Watkins on his shoulder. Chow inside to Botman, and Hall takes it back, then plays it forwards to Gordon. 30 yards out, Hall gets it again. 39th minute with Villa still 1-0 up. Gordon comes across the pitch into the centre. His passes to the feet of Miley. Barnes runs in behind. Miley finds Barnes in the area, hangs up across. Martinez claims
offside,
so it's a free kick anyway. They rolled that ball in for Barnes, who was offside. The referee's letting him kick from his hands rather than take the free kick for the offside. Miley to Joelinton, and now Trippier. Newcastle have possession again on halfway, up to Barnes. He's onside here, and he's got Maatsen to take on. He skips infield, gets tackled by Tielemans, and then Buendia with a clever turn away to find some space. This is Sancho. Rodgers is offside, he doesn't want to touch it, and Tenali gets there, keeps it in. Back to Trippier, and now Miley. Last couple of minutes we've seen a bit more from Newcastle, going up the pitch in attack. Here's Joelinton. It's too slow to release it. Tackled by Watkins. Lewis Hall then dispossesses Watkins from a forward ball to try and find him just past halfway, and it's on for Gordon. Bit of space on the left. Cash gets out to him. Wissa, Joelinton, Barnes in the middle. Gordon heads for the goal line, and again his cross goes behind off his left boot.
You've got to do better. Many times has he done that. He's got past Cash, he's just knocked the cross straight out of play. Got to be better.
Just the final ball that hasn't been there in many cases, although the Miley cross was a brilliant delivery that led to the corner. It was a good corner in actually from Trippier to the back post, but Aston Villa managed to get it clear. Martinez goes long here, and Watkins tries to win it. Trippier heads it back. Botman hooks away from the edge of the area. Buendia's got it, and he goes for goal again, and that one flies wide off the outside of his right boot. He's in the mood, Emiliano Buendia, but couldn't hit the target, fortunately for Newcastle on that occasion, and they still trail by a goal to nil. They still have time to get back into it, get level before half time. Lewis Hall tackled by Sancho, but it's out for a throw. Joelinton has turned well and found Miley, and that's on to Tenali, who takes it away from his man, and Tenali, what a ball for Gordon to run onto. Wissa in the middle, Barnes there as well. Gordon just too high for Wissa. It's come for Barnes, right side of the area. Miley wants it on the edge of the box. He gets it from Trippier now. Tenali lets it run. Joelinton hits one, blocked. Villa have got it through Rodgers, dispossessed by Tenali, and Botman to Gordon. Newcastle keeping the pressure on. Gordon lifts it in. Miley's header, what a save!
What a save
by Martinez. That was bound for the top corner. It was a great ball in, and Miley's header was pushed away by Martinez, who's made two
What a save.
huge saves, one in the opening minute and one as we head towards half-time. Trippier now to Barnes. Puts his foot on the ball near to the edge of the penalty box. Trippier looking for Barnes again in the middle. Pau Torres on his chest.
Oh, he did well, didn't he?
Picks it up.
Did well. It's a great header by Miley. Gets himself in there. It's a fabulous save.
Another problem with Aston Villa playing it out from the back.
It's got a free kick, haven't they?
Ball was at the other end of the pitch. Aston Villa now have to start. Martinez has put it down. Referee's telling him to go back with it on the edge of the area. Less than 2 minutes of the opening 45 remaining, and United are still 1-0 down. Could be handball by Watkins, nothing given. Tonali to Trippier, back to Pope, and away it goes. Also tries to come across. Pau Torres header, and Rodgers is there. Botman's followed him into the Villa half with the ball. Rodgers has held off Botman.
Oh, he did well.
And now it's Tielemans looking for Watkins, who can't take a touch.
He's been poor, Watkins. His touch has been awful.
Could have let that go. Kept it in on the far touch line. Oh, and Trippier, that's missed hit, but Miley's saved Newcastle there by keeping it in just. Trippier back to Pope. May have been wind assisted there, because it is a day with strong winds blowing around St James's Park. And when Trippier played that ball, it seemed to be going forwards, but it actually angled out to the right. Miley kept it in. They've continued with possession in their own defensive third, United. The numbers board will be presented shortly. And this is Botman, swinging diagonal ball, looking for Barnes to try and get away from Maatsen, which he does. Edge of the area. Barnes brings it down, turns inside, flicks it towards Wissa, tries to lay it off. Villa hook it clear, and it's a ball that's gone all the way into the United half, where Botman takes control. It's on to Tonali. 4 minutes on the fourth official's board for additional time. Tonali to Barnes and back again, and now Trippier, who lifts it in. It's a deep one. Joelinton can't make anything of it. Just too much on the ball. From a good position again, Newcastle. They can't pick anybody out. Martinez with a goal kick. Eddie Howe scribbling something down on a notepad. They have to kick uphill in the second half. Villa defending a 1-0 lead. Header on there by Rodgers. Botman header goes backwards. Chow and Hall just about deal with it together. Joelinton, free kick. He was pulled by Onana. It's furious, Joelinton.
Yeah.
Letting the referee know that he's not happy with the...
He never does that.
It's just behind the halfway line. Trippier's going to take it. Botman and Chow go forwards. To the edge of the area from Trippier. Rodgers header. Miley and Tonali there. Newcastle can't get it back. Trippier, good header. But now Villa pick it up in midfield, and they look forwards for Watkins, who takes it away from Hall. There's problems here for Newcastle. Watkins on towards Sancho, but intercepted by Hall.
He's been absolutely awful.
He's not been at his usual level, Ollie Watkins, and Newcastle are delighted, because if he played the right pass to Sancho, Villa would have been in and potentially going into a 2-0 lead. Still 2 minutes of added on time to play as Miley finds the feet of Trippier. Edge of the area now, Joelinton. He takes a touch, back wide to Trippier, then back inside to Joelinton. Maatsen seemed to push him over. Joelinton's on the floor, referee didn't give anything. Newcastle are furious, they're screaming at the fourth official. Joelinton stays down, Tielemans forwards for Villa. Now Rodgers trying to get into the penalty area on the outside of Chow, who defends well. Eddie Howe's gone back to the fourth official and the assistant referee. It's the second time Eddie Howe's questioned a decision. Doesn't normally get involved, but he is today. Did Joelinton have a case there?
Seen him given, haven't you? I mean, if Watkins rolls Sancho in, it's 2-0. It's an absolutely awful ball. Oh.
Hall intercepted, and now a corner to defend following that break up the near side. Chow putting it behind, tackling Rodgers. Tielemans deep, Pope at full stretch. I don't think he got anything on it. It's a goal kick. He went flying though,
yeah,
Pope.
He did. Nobody coming around the back.
40 seconds of the 4 minutes still to play. Newcastle bring it into midfield. Botman for Miley. Sliding tackle from Tielemans, pushes the ball away, but straight to Chow. Miley was trying to play it forwards, it went backwards to Chow, and the 19-year-old's got it again. Trippier on the touchline. It has to come back to Chow. Villa blocked the forward route. Gordon's come over to the right-hand side to get it, and does. Wissa makes a run inside to Joelinton. This might be their last chance at the end of the first half. Wide they go to Hall. Now Gordon, who lifts it in, looking for Wissa, and it's a header caught by Martinez.
Save.
Jared Gillett looks at his watch, blows for half-time. You can see Aston Villa are a good team. You can see why they're a good team. It was a great goal from Buendia. That separates the sides at half-time. Newcastle United trail by a 0-0. John Anderson, and there is work to do as players leave the pitch and complain to the referee about various things.
Yeah, referees let one or two things go as well. Look, it's been a good game. Chances at either end. Would I bet on both teams finishing with 11 men on the pitch? It's a big call, but look, it's good goal as well. Good goal. It's one of, they both had chances, but still in it. Not finished by a long way.
Could have been in front in the opening minute.
Yeah, opening minute. Tonali does great, twinkle toes. Martinez makes a great save, and I thought it had looped up off his leg and ended up in the back of the net. Unfortunately for us, they were able to clear it, but both sides have had decent chances.
The Miley had another big
great save as well. Yeah, Miley gets up, heads it back across, and he makes a really good save, the goalkeeper. Pope does well, ball's played in behind, starting position's great, comes out, slides and gets the ball clear. So yeah, still all to play for in the second half.
No Bruno normally means no victory for Newcastle United, and it's shaping up to be that way again today. But an end-to-end game, and then Villa scored and had control, but Newcastle finished the second half quite well with a few attacks, although there was always a threat at the other end. We'll bring you the second 45 soon here on BBC Radio Newcastle and BBC Sounds. Half-time at St James's. Newcastle United 0, Aston Villa 1.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
The big TV show at the minute is Traitors, so I want to know, which traitor would you banish from your life? Marie from Eschwinning.
It's a cat who we rescued from outside, brought him into our lovely warm home, treat him like a king. He's sitting there as if he owns the house, totally ignoring us, and my husband will come down in a minute. He'll be all over him, he'll snuggle into him, he'll get all the attention. I'm thinking, why do I never learn?
He's a traitor! Banish him, Marie!
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
Weekdays from 6. Just ask your smart speaker to play BBC Radio Newcastle.
Welcome back to the studio. Martin Emerson with the day's sports news for you. In the Premier League, Arsenal can move 7 points clear of Manchester City at the top if they win at home to Man United this afternoon. That one gets underway at 4:30. As well as Newcastle Villa, there are two other 2 p.m. kickoffs this afternoon in the Premier League. And interestingly, Brentford are trailing 1-0 at home to Nottingham Forest, with Forest getting their goal on 12 minutes from Igor Jesus. Elsewhere, it's Crystal Palace 0, Chelsea 1 at half-time. Estevao with the goal there for Chelsea on 34 minutes. In Scotland this afternoon, Hearts are playing Celtic and Rangers play Dundee. Those two are kicking off at 3 o'clock, and Hearts can extend their lead at the top of the table to 9 points if they can actually beat second place Celtic today. Now, in the Women's Super League 2, Crystal Palace beat Durham 4-0 earlier, with all of the goals coming in the second half. It was actually 0-0 until the hour mark. In the 2 o'clock kickoffs, Charlton are playing against Newcastle, and Sunderland are at home to Southampton. So Charlton are currently leading Newcastle in that one 2-0, I think that is. 2-0 at half time there, and the Sunderland game half time in that one, that is 0-0. Now, Sunderland's men were beaten 3-1 at West Ham yesterday in what was a really poor afternoon for the visitors. Coach Regis Lebris made 3 substitutions at half time because they were already 3-0 down. Brian Bobby then scored just after the hour before substitute Luke O'Nien saw a cross-come shot deflect off the bar. Now, Captain Granit Xhaka didn't play in the game after picking up an ankle injury, and he was sitting behind the Sunderland dugout when he appeared to get involved in a row with some West Ham fans, which temporarily brought the game to a halt. Well, his manager said he had no idea what that was about, but he admits he was a miss on the field.
It's important. I think a great player with a great leadership is always useful for a squad. Now it's an opportunity for the others to grow, to take the position, and to improve their leadership.
Thank you. Tough afternoon for Trey Hume. How did he accept his substitution at half time?
I think Trey is probably one of the most professional players in the squad. He knows when he's good, when he's not at the level, so it won't be a problem with Trey. I repeat, it's not only one player, it was more or less the whole squad during the first half. So after that, you have to make a decision. He got a yellow card as well, so it's so important for the team that we can't afford to lose 1 or 2 players. So it was a tactical decision, and just move forward, accept the decision.
And one more for me, Dan Neil wasn't in the squad today, and I know you've got Diarra and Diarra and Talby back. There's a lot of speculation that Dan's moving to Rangers. Is that the case?
I don't know yet. It's not official. Something might happen in the next few days. We'll see.
Well, as a result of that game, Sunderland are 10th. The Hammers are third bottom, but they ended the day only 2 points behind Nottingham Forest. Obviously, that will depend on how Forest do at Brentford today, and if they hold on to their lead there, then that gap will move up to 5 points. From a Sunderland point of view, though, the 6th defeat on the road this year. They've only won 2 of their 12 away games, and the last victory was in October at Chelsea. Now, midfielder Milan Aleksic has been recalled by Sunderland from his loan at KS Cracovia in Poland. The 20-year-old Serbian's played for them 8 times this season, but his return paves the way for defender Arthur Masuaku to join French side Lens until the end of the season. He was recently with the Democratic Republic of Congo at the Africa Cup of Nations, but he's only played 3 times for the Weirsiders this year, and the last of those appearances was in October at Man U. Meanwhile, former skipper Dan Neil, as we heard there, not in the squad for the game at West Ham, with reports suggesting he could be on his way to Rangers, while I think Sheffield United and Ipswich are also being listed as possible interests for him. Now, in non-league yesterday, South Shields salvaged a point at Marine, scoring in the 98th minute to make it 2-2. The Mariners stay top of the table in National League North. Here's their manager, Ian Watson.
We have to take positives from that. Obviously, the game was got a bit carnage towards the end, but we had some really good moments, and then we only gave them 2 moments really, which they took. And when you got 20 seconds left on the clock, you think the game's done, and the boys just find a way to get an equaliser, and it changes the moment, and it feels like a really good point that we'll take. All we can go on is if we're obviously the performance levels and how we're performing and how we look, and then are we creating chances, and then are we being good defensively, and we're kind of doing all them things. Obviously today we concede 2, but I do feel that we defended the goal a lot of the time, like 90% of the time perfectly, and then they get the two moments. So to get a late goal like that, a late equaliser, and then we get the late goal on Tuesday as well, just shows that the boys will just keep on going, and we do get a lot of confidence from how much we're willing to try and go and affect games and win games.
Well, in the Northern Premier League Premier Division, Hebburn Town remain top following a 1-0 win over bottom side Workington. The players have hardly been able to train in recent weeks because of the poor weather, but their fantastic unbeaten run continues. Here's their manager, Daniel Moore.
Very difficult place to go at the best of times, and they've not been able to get on the pitch for the last 2 or 3 weeks because of the weather, so it was a very tough surface to play any football on. So it was about percentages and territory, and we've done the basics really well today, and they're fighting for points as much as we are. So really pleased to go there and get a clean sheet and deserve winners in the end. We've just been chatting about it there. We lost the first 3 games of the season, so I think we've lost 3 games in 26 now, I think it is, which is, it's a tough league at the best of times. So that form, it's standing us in good stead, and, we're just going out there and trying to prove people wrong.
Morpeth Town moved out of the relegation zone after beating third-placed FC United of Manchester 1-0 at Craig Park. The Morpeth manager is Craig Lynch.
Delighted. I think it's kick-started our year. 2026 hasn't started the best, but 600 plus each a day, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to put a performance on, and electric first half. And I've spoke to their manager, and there's no disrespect to them, we could have been 4 up at half time and no one could have said anything. We were that good, and then the goals didn't come, so you got to defend well. In second half we were brilliant. We still had chances, but we stopped them having chances. If you're shooting it 25-30 yards against Dan Langley, it's got to be a worldie. So I was delighted with everyone from Dan up to Joe front. It was a brilliant performance today.
And you can catch the non-league podcast on BBC Sounds for a full roundup of all the weekend's non-league action and results and reaction. Now, in rugby union, Newcastle were hammered at Saracens yesterday by 73 points to 14. That was in the Gallagher Prem. Here's our commentator, Dean Gray.
After a poor defeat from their terms down at the Dragons last weekend, they suffered another here against the Saracen side, missing a couple of big-name players, and Ben Earl and Maro Atoje certainly, but fielding an international quality squad of over 500 caps in the 23. Newcastle kicked off at a heck of a lick and scored a try in 3 minutes by Usher, converted by Connor, and then had one chalked off for Christie, which would have given them at that stage a 14-0 lead. Christie just letting his foot slide over the dead ball line in the in-goal area, so the try rightly being knocked off. Thereafter, it was Saracens traffic one way for the rest of the game, apart from the very death. Saracens led, having scored 5 tries in the first half by a margin of 33-7. And that continued throughout the second half. Newcastle grabbing a try at the end, just through sheer perseverance. Parsons getting his first try for Newcastle Red Bulls on 80 minutes. Unfortunately, Saracens continued to score and scored 40 points in the second half.
Well, after the game, Dean spoke to coach Alan Dickens.
A real disappointment for us and the team. We've just spoken in the change room. We started pretty well. Big moment in terms of when our second try was chalked off, and our Saracens, they were physical. We made mistakes, and they were then clinical and went away and scored. So it was very similar to last season as well when we came here, and it was disappointing today. It was kind of all areas of our game. I thought the line-out was functioning brilliantly. Certainly both sides of the ball, attack and defence, we were slightly off it today.
I think the scrum was solid as well, against a very, very big Saracens pack. Penalty count as well, up again, I think 15 penalties conceded. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, with the basis of that, is this a step backwards after that sort of signs of improvement?
Look, we can always kind of be emotional after a loss like that. The effort and the work that the players put in, can't ask for any more. They've been fantastic. I just said that on the TV, I think it was probably not necessarily a game too far, but I think 2 games too far. I thought you saw last week, second half, we fell off, and maybe fatigue has caught up on us in terms of this last block, and certainly with you looked at the Saracens team and their squad. They've got some quality players, and as it's been well documented over the last couple of years, we've got a pretty small squad. So yeah, probably a couple of games too far in this block, and we'll use the next 6-7 weeks to get people back on the feet.
It's the second round of Rugby League's Challenge Cup today, and Doncaster host Newcastle. That one's just kicked off. Now, in tennis at the Australian Open in Melbourne, top seeds Carlos Alcaraz and Aryna Sabalenka are both through to the quarter-finals after straight sets wins in the men's and women's singles, respectively. Sabalenka is looking to lift the Grand Slam title for the third time in 4 years. She'll play American teenager Iva Jovic, who only turned 18 last month, and says her goal is to compete against the sport's best players.
She's number one for a reason and had so much success at this tournament, but that's what I want. I said it last year. I hope to be able to play her this year because you definitely want to play the best and see how it goes. So I'm just really excited.
In UFC, Justin Gaethje beat Liverpool's Paddy Pimblett with a unanimous decision for the interim lightweight title in Las Vegas last night. Now, coming up on BBC Radio Newcastle, the second half of Newcastle United against Aston Villa. Can the Magpies get back into the game following Emiliano Buendia's opener?
Half-time highlights.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Tielemans to Rogers to Buendia, thinking about a shot, edge of the area. What a goal from Buendia. Well, he has started brilliantly, the Argentinian, and he's put Aston Villa ahead at St James's Park in the 19th minute with a dipping shot from the edge of the area. An end-to-end game. Newcastle could have taken the lead in the first minute. Aston Villa are the side who score first, though, through Buendia's 7th of the season, and they lead by 1-0.
Total Sport North East.
Matthew Raisbeck and black and white legend John Anderson.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Thank you to Martin in the studio, and that is the only goal at St James's Park in the opening half of football that we have witnessed. Let's see what unfolds in the second as we await the return of Newcastle and Villa. They have scored twice, Newcastle, at least 2 goals in each of their last 8 Premier League home games prior to today. They're going to need to score at least 2 if they are to turn this around and get 3 points. 1-0 down, here they are, and now come Aston Villa. Doesn't look like there are any half-time changes, so Pope, Trippier the captain today, Chow, Botman, Hall, Miley, Tanali, who was able to continue after treatment on an injury during the first half, and he's back out for the second half. Joe Linton has been yellow carded. Barnes right, Gordon left, Wissa through the middle. Villa, Martinez, 2 big saves, one from Tanali, one from Miley. Cash, Konsa, Pau Torres, Matson, Onana, Tielemans, Sancho, Buendia, Rogers and Watkins. How can they get back into it, Ando, and get control of it? What do you think?
It's been a good game. It's been an even game. You would say Villa have been more measured than we have. They've kept it a little bit better than we have, but it's still a game that's finely balanced.
They always seem to have an extra player, somebody spare in midfield, don't they? Tactically, that's obviously the way that Emery does it. They're in the penalty area here. There's an attack on which Lewis Hall has to clear from in front of his post in the 6-yard box with a dangerous cross in front of goal from the left. Here's Wissa to Barnes. That's good link up by Newcastle, who are going up the other end, shooting towards the Leazer's end goal in the second half. Wissa gets it again in the penalty area. Johan Wissa cuts it back. Here's an effort from Barnes which is blocked. Those two combining all the way up the pitch, ending in a shot from Barnes. A low effort, left-footed, that was blocked in the centre of the penalty area. Here's Sancho throwing himself down, knocked it one side of Hall, tried to go the other, ran into him. Referee, in fairness to Jared
lively
Gillies,
start to the start of the second half,
waved him up, told him to get to his feet. So shooting towards the left. There's a problem. Now ball's been put out. Joe Linton. Bruno injured, Tanali having treatment earlier, Joe Linton with a problem. He is on the pitch and the physio has to come on. Joe Linton's gone down onto his back. He He's got his right knee bent, but his left leg is flat on the floor. Joe Willock and Jacob Ramsey are around. Now they are stretching up his left leg. It's the left groin, isn't it? Joe Linton's got his hand there as the physio tests out the muscle and the joint. They're helping him up. And Joe Linton.
Oh, he's going to come off.
Cannot continue. Numbers board is in the hands of fourth official Rob Jones. Joe Linton, who had been yellow carded, didn't see what happened there. Jacob Ramsey is coming on against the club that he grew up at, that he supports and played 167 times for. Taps hands with his old teammate Morgan Rogers. It's a straight swap in terms of Ramsey playing on the left of the midfield three, but with the Bruno situation and all the big games to come, other injuries, he just cannot have them, and hopefully that is precautionary. Chelsea are 2-0 up at Crystal Palace. João Pedro has scored. Newcastle with the ball in the Aston Villa half. Trippier dallied on it a little bit, got tackled. Maatsen skips away but carries it out of play, so they get it back from a throw. Trippier takes it and finds the feet of Tonali. Hall makes a run up the pitch on this near side. Ramsey's first touch. He comes in with it, finding Hall near the edge of the area. Tonali floats a pass to the right boot of Trippier. Accurate ball, good first touch. Now to Miley and back to Chow. Villa have really closed off the space. Newcastle work it wide left to Gordon. Goes on the outside of Cash, and his cross is blocked. It'll be a throw. Which he leaves for Hall. 1-0 down. And 4 minutes played in the second half. Ramsey makes a run, gets the ball, gives it back to Hall. Has it again, Jacob Ramsey, yet to score for Newcastle United. I wonder if it is written that it will be today in his 22nd appearance playing against his old club. Trippier's given the ball away and Villa knock it long. That's overhit, and it was away from Watkins anyway. Buendia, who got just about everything right in the first half, drilled that one up the line. Watkins was more central and was wildly overhit anyway. Here's Ramsey in behind for the run of Wissa. Ramsey's ball gets Wissa in, cuts inside but doesn't take the ball with him. Just got it caught under his feet. Villa then lose it as they try to clear. Lewis Hall does well to win it back. Now Harvey Barnes gets it out of his feet. Barnes edge of the area, dipping shot just over.
Corner kick.
There was a deflection. It's a corner on the left for Newcastle United. Ramsey, great ball in behind for Wissa, and then Barnes having a deflected shot that just went over the top of the crossbar.
Yeah, cut in off that right hand side. It's taken the deflection, looped up in the air. Trippier comes across this near side.
Here comes the corner kick. Every Aston Villa player is defending. They're all back in the box. Trippier claimed by Martinez at the back post. They need to get bodies up the pitch, Villa. Well, they found a runner through the middle. It's Tielemans, having had everybody back. I don't know how they somehow have an advantage here. Ramsey slides in, wins it, then plays it to Hall. He's come on and done well immediately, Jacob Ramsey, in a couple of minutes. On for the injured Joe Linton. I wonder if he feels, I don't know about a point to prove, but this will be a big fixture for him. He takes Newcastle over halfway and rolls it up the line for Anthony Gordon. Trying to find an equaliser, United. Gordon inside. Ramsey edge of the area. Tried to flick it one more to Tonali. It was blocked by Buendia. Gordon retrieves it 25 yards out. Back to Botman. And inside to Tonali, centre of Villa's half. Pushed over to Trippier. Barnes up the line. Gets it. Miley goes on. Barnes tried to come inside. Got tackled. But got a throw out of it. Elanga and Voltemada warming up. Newcastle United 0, Aston Villa 1. on BBC Radio Newcastle and BBC Sounds. Miley to Tanali. Back to Chow, next to the centre circle. Miley to Barnes. And they've given a throw the way of Aston Villa. Don't think they knew what to give there. It's out in front of the east stand, the Aston Villa left side. And in the 53rd minute, Maatsen throws it forwards. Trippier heads away. Miley gets onto the ball. Showed good desire to win it back. Then Tanali teasing it forward, and Barnes is onto it. Whistler making a forward run. Barnes, and the whistle's gone because they're saying he pushed Maatsen over. And Tanali complains to Jared Gillett, as do some of the supporters sitting near us, but Barnes did push him over. And Harvey Barnes himself didn't complain. They might have other legitimate issues with the officiating, but I don't think they can really.
I don't think you can have too many complaints.
But they've started quite well, haven't they, in the second half?
Yeah.
Although Villa did have a dangerous attack, and here's Watkins trying to get around Botman. It's run for the Villa striker in the box, and then he's had a fresh air shot. And Botman plays it forwards. Now Ramsey from Trippier's pass onto Hall. Gordon just drops in to get it. Gives it back to Hall. Botman's free inside, edge of the area. Takes a touch, Botman, after receiving the ball from Hall. Plays it on to Chow, and it comes back to Botman. Miley, Wissa making a move. Drops back to halfway. Johan Wissa gets turned, takes it. Barnes makes the run up the line. In fact, it was Trippier rather than Barnes who'd gone in field, but they didn't play it in behind. They go backwards. Botman on the halfway line to Hall, closed down by Cash, straight back to Botman. Tanali in between the centre halves. He has it now. Forwards for Miley. Oh, a brilliant ball by Miley in behind for Trippier, and the cross towards Barnes, and then Gordon.
Brilliant. Great play.
It's the goal
kick. What a ball, Miley. What a great ball in behind.
Barnes couldn't connect in the middle, and Gordon at full stretch did everything that he could, but couldn't get it on target.
Great ball played in. Trippier as well.
It's a really good Newcastle move. Aston Villa remain in a 1-0 lead at St James's Park, though. Konsa towards Sancho. Botman behind, covers, heads it down, and lifts it high into the Aston Villa half to clear the danger. And it's a bouncing ball that Konsa has time to take control of and head it back to goalkeeper Martinez. On the bench for United, Ramsdale, Osula, Elanga, Voltemada, Willock, Byrne, Alex Murphy and Shahar. Villa subs, goalkeeper Bizot, Lindelof, Digne, Mings, Bogard, Hemmings, Bailey, Elliott and Gesson. Botman turns in the corner but then loses it as they try to play up the far side. There's a shot spilled by Nick Pope. Rodgers from 20 yards on the left, and Hall clears from the corner. Wissa chases. Konsa plays it back to Martinez in the D. Pings it up the pitch. Watkins header. Chow. Well, they're saying that Buendia made a back for Chow.
Yeah, referee's given it as well.
Newcastle free kick. I'm never quite sure with Jared Gillett, the referee, quite what he will see and which way a decision will go. Buendia was furious there. Tanali, after the free kick was taken short, plays it to Chow. He's on his way up the Villa half. Trippier back to Tanali, on from Miley, now back to Botman, first time pass. Tanali left side of the centre circle for Hall, back to Tanali, takes it forwards, that's good. Ramsey's made a run, could Tanali find him? There was a little gap. not enough of a gap for the pass. Gordon back inside for Miley, who's available. Trippier makes the run into the box. They try and find Trippier. He's got it on the corner of the area. Now Barnes for support. Back to Chow. Lifted in by Chow.
It's not the worst.
Bounces once in the area. Comes to Tenali. Now back to Hall, who hangs it up back post. Villa head it behind. They're going to bring on the speedy winger Leon Bailey shortly.
Sancho, won't it?
Yeah, you'd think so. A like-for-like change. Live on BBC Radio Newcastle and the BBC Sounds app. Third placed Aston Villa winning at St James's Park. Newcastle trying to find an equaliser. Here's Hall's corner. Martinez punches and pushed forwards towards goal by Ramsey, but wide.
Wasn't the greatest goalkeeping, was it? Wasn't a great punch.
Jadon Sancho substituted, the match winner the other night, but taken off here in the 58th minute for Leon Bailey.
He's quick as well, this boy.
Sancho slowly making his way towards the touchline. Leon Bailey returned to Villa in the week after spending the first half of the season on loan with Roma in Italy. They perhaps a bit short in forward positions, Villa. So Bailey gives them another option. Plenty of pace, as we mentioned. Here's Tanali. Wissa makes a run off his man. Wissa's shot is blocked. Left side of the area. He finds Gordon. And the cross from Gordon is blocked, and then Tanali hits one, blocked in the middle. Tanali has a swing edge of the area, and Bailey gets the ball before Hall does. Botman intercepts on halfway, plays it up to Ramsey. Good attacking play from Newcastle, good tempo about what they're doing. And Miley, it's in a bit of a tangle, but Trippier keeps United on the attack and finds Miley with another pass. Miley's cross is blocked. It's a throw in line with the penalty box on the right hand side.
Yeah, asking one or two questions now.
Well, they need to find a goal to level the game up. Botman plays it to the feet of Chow. That's up to Barnes, help round the corner, but intercepted by Tielemans, who clears and then gets it back again, edge of his own penalty area. Lifts it forwards to nobody. Unai Emery waving his arms about. He's wiggling his fingers at the moment, Emery. That must mean something to Aston Villa, to the players, whatever that particular finger motion means. They will obviously understand. Chow to Ramsey, back to Botman on halfway. He's got plenty of time and space. Up to Gordon. Try to squeeze it through for Tanali. Then Miley makes a challenge, and Jared Gillett spotted a foul there. Villa have taken it quickly. Newcastle are in trouble. Bailey into the area. Brilliant from Chow to get across and turn it behind. Referee let Aston Villa take an immediate free kick, and Bailey was in.
He wanted all the time in the world, didn't he, Bailey? Could have rolled it square as well, couldn't he? Chow does well, gets across. Bailey needed to hit it quicker. Wanted to get it on that left foot as well, didn't he?
No urgency over the set piece. Tenali gets them a ball. There's a fan near us, shouts, "What are you waiting for?" in the direction of the Villa bench. Tielemans went to get a different ball. And it's an outswinging corner from the Belgian. Lewis Hall heads it back out to Tielemans. Tenali has to go and close him down. Nobody else did. Tielemans' delivery flicked across goal by Pau Torres. And has that gone out? Well, they've decided yes, it did eventually. Voltemada and Elanga are coming on. Wissa is going off in the first change. Quiet today, Johan Wissa. And Anthony Elanga comes on for Anthony Gordon, so Harvey Barnes will presumably come to the left. And Elanga, who was bright the other night and decent at Wolves, gets a chance to use his pace on the right wing. Elanga has a word in the ear of Jacob Ramsey on his way on. Ramsey's been lively since his introduction following Joe Linton's injury. It's still Newcastle 0, Aston Villa 1. Botman up to Miley. It was in between Voltemada and Ramsey, and it's played back to Martinez by Onana. In the meantime, Enzo Fernandez has extended Chelsea's lead 3-0 at Crystal Palace, and he scored a penalty. Enzo. Martinez has got the ball again. 63 minutes. Is there enough evidence, Ando, from the second half?
Yeah, it's been bright in the second half.
Get back in it?
Yeah, they've been bright.
Miley loses it in the middle there, looking for either Ramsey or Tonali. Aston Villa have it on the left wing. Matson inside to Buendia, scorer of the game's only goal. He turns and goes back to Onana. And Cash next to the centre circle. Bailey closed down by Hall. Hall slips. Bailey tries to run at him, comes inside, looks for Rodgers. Tonali's got it. Voltemada holds it, plays it back to Ramsey. Trippier in space.
Well played.
Far side of the pitch, up the line for Elanga to run after, which he does. Only Tonali in the box. Elanga, it's a heavy touch, which he can't get on the end of to deliver the cross, but he used his pace there to get away. Just used a bit too much of it.
Oh, he nearly did. How quick is he? Dear, oh dear.
But that'll have Aston Villa worried. They play a short goal kick to Tielemans, back to Martinez. Voltemada goes to rush him. Martinez away. Chow with a header. Onana's header, and back to Chow. He's got Watkins on his shoulder. Plays it to Trippier, and he decides to go back to Pope. It's on to Botman, just next to the D. Up to Ramsey. Picked up a good position on the left. And now it's Barnes, who wins a free kick following the challenge by Cash. Hall plays it to Tonali, closed down by Rodgers, back to Botman, middle of Newcastle's half, pushed over to Chow. Elanga up the line. And Tonali in the centre for Chow. This is a good run forwards by Chow, and the ball inviting for Elanga, who's kept it in. He's in the corner, and he's won a throw next to the corner flag. They just let Chow bring it. Took it a long way. Elanga's speed being used there by Newcastle for the second time since coming on. Miley back to Trippier from the throw, and then back down the line to Ramsey. This is Hall, chipped into the area looking for Botman, headed on but caught by Martinez. And an overarm throw by the Villa goalkeeper, a quick one to Bailey. Inside towards Rodgers. Chow intercepts. Now Harvey Barnes. They come again. Hall to the back post. Elanga coming in. Villa header. Martinez catches.
Awful ball from Bailey, wasn't it? Sold Rodgers right up the creek.
Botman heads the ball forwards. Miley backs into Buendia, can't win it. And it's play towards the left touch line. The pass towards Watkins, inside to Tielemans, who goes back to the left wing to Ollie Watkins. Nobody in the centre of the box. And now Villa players come out of the penalty area because they're going backwards with the ball. Matson to Pau Torres. Midway through the second half, just about. The away side still lead 1-0, but Newcastle have won possession back. Here's Voltemada. He was tackled, but it'll run for Miley. And he's on his way up the touchline, Lewis Miley. Still going, shrugs off Buendia. Voltemada in the middle, Miley cuts inside, chips it in. Oh, it was too high for Voltemada. Ramsey wanted it, played back edge of the area. Some shouts of handball against Bailey. Play goes on. Rodgers tries to flick it around Botman, who's defended it brilliantly and pushed it inside for Ramsey. Looking for Hall. It's falling Lewis Hall. He's won a throw off Bailey. And Hall yet to take the throw. Now it's back in play for Ramsey, away from Cash, and seems to have caught Rodgers. Ramsey went flying. Rodgers, he stayed down. Miley makes a challenge in the centre circle, no foul. Tielemans is down. Villa have got two players on the floor. Can Newcastle take full advantage? Tanali to Ilanga. Villa, they're down to 9 men. Here's Trippier, headed away by Pau Torres. It's a corner. Rodgers caught by Ramsey accidentally, and then in the Newcastle half, Nick Pope is checking on Tielemans. Rodgers is back up, asking questions of the referee. I think Ramsey just chased after a ball that had a touch that had gone too far, just seemed to clip Rodgers, and then Tielemans went down in a challenge from Miley, but no free kick was given.
No.
Looks like they might be about to change their left back and bring Luca Digne on. Tielemans gets back to his feet. Newcastle want to take the corner. St James's Park is getting angry. Tyrone Mings is ready, the centre back, maybe to deal with a threat from Voltemada with his height. It's still 1-0 to Aston Villa as Tielemans limps back into the box. Hall's corner. Onana heads away. Tanali back in. And behind.
Tielemans is down.
The Villa medical team are invited to come on. And two defenders, Digne and Mings, are ready. Lewis Hall is pitch side with Jason Tindall, and Harvey Barnes is called across by Eddie Howe. Newcastle United 0, Aston Villa 1. A match that started with a big chance for Tanali that forced a huge save from Martinez in the first minute. There was also a big stop from a Miley header in the first half at 1-0 down. Buendia got the only goal in the 19th minute. And we've now got 20 remaining on BBC Radio Newcastle and BBC Sounds. We are running out of time.
What are we doing? Get on with it, man!
Still treatment being given to Tielemans. He's in the Villa penalty box. There'll be a lot of added on time. No Bruno, and history tells us that it doesn't go Newcastle's way when the skipper isn't playing. Out with injury today.
Why are we not playing?
And the supporter near us, who is...
But he's like that every
week.
He's
a lone voice.
Yeah, he's like that every week.
We often hear. But he's asking the question why they're not playing. They're not, because Tielemans was getting treatment in the box. He's off at the moment. Villa want to make 2 changes. But they're not going to do it yet, and they're going to play with 10 for 30 seconds while Tielemans is brought back on. Adam Wharton sent off for Crystal Palace, who are 3-0 down to Chelsea, and it's still Brentford 0, Nottingham Forest 1. So looking like 3 away wins in the Premier League. Hopefully Newcastle can stop that from happening. They've got to get back into this. Bailey for Watkins, who's on the right wing. Tielemans is still off. He's got two members of Villa staff with him. They're saying no, they're going to have to make a change. They're not going to bring him back on. Martinez, having been on the right wing, they go all the way back to the keeper. He goes long, left-footed clearance to Watkins. That's gone out. And a throw for the away side. Lamar Bogard, Dutch under-21 international, who's come through Villa's academy. Not a regular in the team, in and out of the side. He's the player that they're going to bring on to replace Tielemans. But they're down to 10. They were down to 9 for a Newcastle attack that ended in a corner. So they have a numerical advantage still. Botman backpedaling, finds Chow with a header. Miley to Trippier. Tonali comes across. Tries to lift it in behind for Elanga, but it's chested down by Maatsen, who clears into the United half. Chow gets close to Watkins, and Botman behind. The pair has the ball. It's on for Tonali. Ramsey up ahead, Barnes wide, and it's Harvey Barnes on it now. Move to the left wing after the substitutions, looking for Hall, but Bailey intercepts, takes it into his own box. Now to the corner. Cash looking for Bailey, but it's out of play. The changes can be made now for Aston Villa. Luca Digne, Lamar Bogard and Tyrone Mings, and the first change is Pau Torres going off, replaced by Mings. Suffered that serious ACL injury 2 years ago.
Tell you what, I'm pleased to see him going off.
Tyrone Mings. Emiliano Buendia is replaced by Luca Digne, and Lamar Bogard comes on for the injured Yuri Tielemans. Interesting to see who plays where then. Digne's a left back, but Maatsen is on the pitch. Maatsen might go further forward. I think that's what they're doing. Newcastle throw in the 75th minute. Voltemade holds it up, gives it back to Hall, who took the throw, and inside they come to Chow. Tonali looking for Miley, deflected away by Villa. Miley gets there for the second ball, gets it back from Trippier, and Botman on the halfway line. Barnes backpedaling into space on the left wing. Botman still has it, plays his pass square to Chow. Elanga, he's got space here. Oh, good ball onto Miley, and the cross straight at Martinez, 6 yards out. If he'd spilled it, Voltemade would have been there for a tap in, but the German couldn't get across the goalkeeper and on the end of the ball in.
Yeah, he's just whipped it first time, hasn't he? Good take by the keeper, to be fair.
Botman's header goes to Maatsen, who plays it against Tonali, and then it comes to Digne. Back to the French fullback from Maatsen, and Aston Villa keep it in Newcastle United's half. Ramsey trying to pinch it from Rodgers. Ramsey can't quite get there. Rodgers in the D, down he goes, nothing given by Jared Gillett. Half-hearted appeals, and Chow up to Elanga, and Voltemade joining him in the attack. Villa getting bodies back. Elanga running at Mings. Elanga's cross deflects straight to Cash, who can clear. Miley heads it forwards. Villa have got it away again. Hall comes onto the ball, leaves it for Tonali. Rodgers gets there first, but Tonali wins it back. He's had a good game, Tonali. And he's found Miley. And here's Trippier, closed down by Maatsen. On for Elanga, who turns, gives it to Trippier. They are 30 yards out now, and Elanga's got it, more central position. That's a good ball in from Anthony Elanga, and it's headed behind by Konsa.
Good defending, wasn't it? It was a great ball whipped in. Looked like Voltemade was all over it. Konsa appears and gets a great header on it.
You're just looking at the Rodgers incident. What do you think?
Seen him given, haven't you?
It was Ramsey and Chow. He was sandwiched between.
He's let a lot go, this referee. I'm not complaining about it, mate.
Elanga almost picked out Voltemada with that cross. It's led to this corner, which Miley takes. Martinez catches it near the back post and nearly spilled it. Gathered at the second attempt. He's gone down.
Bang.
Holding his back.
Hit the goal post.
Jared Gillett very calmly walks over to Martinez. Newcastle, the ongoing dialogue with the fourth official.
He's hit the goal post, that's all. Watch.
Is that why he spilled the cross initially?
Yeah. Nothing in it at all.
He's got the ball on the floor and now picks it up. Referees allowed him to restart the match. Didn't need treatment on field. 12 minutes remaining on BBC Radio Newcastle and BBC Sounds. Watkins battling for the ball with Botman, edge of the area. Lewis Hall's gone down after heading it clear. Villa with Maatsen in the area and Bailey, and Hall runs it forwards. Trippier up to the feet of Elanga, who knocks it past his man and gets taken down by Digne, who'll get a yellow card. Elanga played the free kick and the referee has said wait because he has to make a note of the caution. Elanga did well there because it looked like he was going to head up the line, but he actually dropped in and got on the ball and then used his pace.
And once he knocks it by you, you're in no man's land because he's just going to put the afterburners on.
Still trailing 1-0 Newcastle. Tainali, oh no, straight to Martinez in the box. It's not what he was aiming to do. Martinez, ball has come out wide on the left. Nick Pope, high starting position and got there just before Watkins, but the ball was held up by the wind and Watkins takes the throw to Bailey, edge of the area. Tainali makes a challenge, they get it back United. Hall then finds Tainali again, who's down, nothing given by Jared Gillett. Again, Tainali stayed down, holding his hip, and Aston Villa play on.
There's nothing wrong with them. Every time they go down, they hold something.
Rodgers got a bit of space, edge of the area. Tainali makes a block. Rodgers gets it back from Bailey, and Maatsen in the D tries to shoot. Back to Rodgers. Tainali, that's a free kick for Aston Villa.
Every time somebody gets touched and it doesn't go their way, they roll around like they be.
They're probably so used to referees giving everything that Jared Gillett's getting loads of stick because he's giving nothing. Although he has awarded Villa a free kick there from a challenge made by Tainali on Rodgers, which was a foul. Into the final 10 minutes. Can Newcastle United get back into it? Firstly, they have to defend their goal. And this free kick that's going to come in, Buendia is off the pitch. He would have liked to crack at this. Maatsen with his left or Rodgers with the right.
Rodgers, isn't it?
About 5 yards back from the edge of the box, slightly left of centre. This could be a significant moment in the match. Nick Pope is in the centre of his goal. Villa have got two players in front of the wall. Referee has now gone to Kieran Trippier. I don't know if Villa are saying that the wall has gone too far forwards, but you're not allowed to put attacking players in the wall now, but they can be next to it and clearly in front of it. William Osula comes back to the bench after warming up. I wonder if we'll see him before the end. Rodgers runs towards the ball. Nick Pope makes a comfortable save, centre of the goal. Pope tries to get started quickly. A huge throw looking for Elanga, who's got on the end of it and brought it infield. And Elanga couldn't quite find Voltemada with a pass. Then Villa give it away and Tonali's onto it. Tonali overruns it, loses out to Onana. Bailey here, tackled by Tonali, who then makes another challenge. He's been back at his energetic best today, Sandro Tonali. He has been everywhere. Botman's another that's had a good game, although Watkins hasn't offered much for Villa up front. And there have been some decent individual performances, but they are still 1-0 down, and there are 7.5 minutes remaining. They have possession with Chow on halfway. Rain starts to fall again at St James's Park. Ramsey comes to get it from Botman on halfway. Drops his shoulder. Comes away
he's
from
done well
Onana.
since he's come on.
Here's Elanga, likewise through for Trippier, but in fact it's Miley who's got there in the area rather than Trippier. Back to Elanga. First time cross. Villa header. It was
offside.
It was a bit flat from Elanga. Must have been Miley who was offside. Here comes Joe Willock, and Sandro Tonali is leaving the pitch, but he's played very well today.
Tonali's been excellent today. He's come in for criticism lately, but he's been all over the park today.
Newcastle's midfield is Miley, Willock and Ramsey. Joelinton off injured, Bruno not involved because of injury, and Tonali off there. Miley wins a good header at the back. Barnes gets a throw off Onana. Eddie Howe quickly over to the ball. Throws it to Barnes. Ramsey gets it from Hall's throw. Can't really get a proper touch on it. Voltemada and Miley make challenges, but Aston Villa have it back and play it to Mings, who decides to turn and go back to Martinez in the D. And up it goes.
Great header, well played, young man.
Bailey, Hall, diving header back to Pope and out to Ramsey up the left side for Newcastle United. Elanga's made a run over to this near touchline, tried to get on the end of Ramsey's pass. Decent run by Elanga. It didn't quite work out, and Martinez clears. Hall falling as he heads it backwards. Botman stronger than Watkins. Hall's got it again.
Not for the first time today.
It's been a big shift from Lewis Hall once again. Joe Willock, right side of central midfield, onto Trippier on the touchline. Willock makes a run. Trippier tries to find him. It's a bouncing ball, and it's gone behind for a goal kick. Nottingham Forest lead 2-0 at Brentford. Taiwo Awoniyi has got the second for Forest. All the away sides still winning in the Premier League in the 2 o'clock kickoffs. They have 5 minutes to change that plus added on time, and there might be a fair bit. Probably not as much as they had against Leeds, but still enough to equalise maybe. And then who knows? Chow, a free header. Then Rodgers on for Villa. It runs through for Pope. Dropped at the feet of Botman. Trippier's got it, still in their own half. Botman comes towards halfway, and Miley, left of centre to Hall, back to Botman. Oh, that's misplaced, and Watkins is onto it. Chow is there as well. Rodgers in support. Watkins goes for goal. Nick Pope, what a save.
What a stop. Poor ball, Miley. Watkins has got nothing on. He's got nobody with him. He decides to hit one. Gets it out of his feet. Hits it from 25 yards. That's a great save.
One-handed save away to his right. Not quite top corner, but high. brilliant stop by Nick Pope. In the 87th minute, Aston Villa lead by a goal to nil. Out-swinging corner from Digne. Header goes away from goal and backwards from Onana. Crystal Palace pulled one back against Chelsea. 3-1 down now. Here's Digne in the box. And the cross to Watkins, who scores a second. Ollie Watkins with a header through the legs of Nick Pope at the Gallowgate end, and Aston Villa will surely take 3 points from Newcastle United. A second goal which they threatened to score with Watkins' long-range effort that Pope saved, but he could do nothing about the header from the Aston Villa striker. And it's going to be defeated St James's Park for Newcastle United. 88 minutes, Newcastle United 0, Aston Villa 2.
Good header, wasn't it? Cleared the danger, thought we'd clear the danger, but it's a great little ball, isn't it? Goes back to where the corner kick came from. Digne's in loads of space and he dinks a ball back post. He's arriving back post. He's done nothing all game. Gets a second goal.
Nobody tracked Watkins' run. And he just towards the right hand post, downward header beyond Nick Pope, and Aston Villa are going to win at St James's Park for the first time since 2005. Amadou Onana goes off, replaced by Victor Lindelof. Villa keeping themselves in touch with Man City in second. And Newcastle's record without Bruno continues. When they don't have Bruno, they don't win. 11 games since he made his first start in 2022 without the skipper. No victory. Miley for Barnes as they try to get one back in the 90th minute. Cuts inside, Barnes still going. He's going to hit it here. Barnes does, it's blocked. It's a low right-footed shot from the edge of the area. It had a bit of power, but didn't reach goal because of the Villa defending him. Voltemada now involved from Miley's pass. He's used it well enough, Voltemada. Found Hall. Has to come inside. Miley, Trippier to the right. Found by Miley's ball up the line to Elanga. Back to Trippier. Could have been so different if the Tonali effort had gone in inside the opening minute. Their other big chance was a Miley header, brilliantly saved by Martinez. 2 huge stops from the Villa goalkeeper. Voltemada here, good feet. 30 yards out to Hall. He's got away from a couple of challenges. It's run for Ramsey. Barnes wants it slipped in. It's instead to Miley. Decides not to hit it. Plays it to Trippier. 8 minutes added. Trippier's cross. Blocked by a defender. Elanga trying to hit one in the area. Some appeals for handball. Jared Gillett says no. And Martinez has the ball in his hands.
Yeah, well, we've got 8 minutes to try and rescue something.
It hit the side of Madsen's body, not his arm. Difficult to see a comeback today. Aston Villa, 7 minutes now to see this one out. Joe Willock up to Elanga. Oh, that's a good back heel by Elanga to Voltemada. Elanga continues his run, and Voltemada's ball is just too close to the keeper. Martinez leaves his area just to play it short to Digne. Just needed a bit, I don't know, just a little bit more control on the pass from Voltemada. Villa passing it out from the back, and Elanga doing lots of chasing, but he's the only one, and now it's in Newcastle's half. Not a good record with Jared Gillett here as referee. Either the last home defeat, which was Arsenal, he was the referee, and he's the referee again today. Martinez towards Rodgers. Miley from halfway behind him heads forwards, on by Villa again. Botman clears, Ramsey's got it. I think their best option is to get it to Elanga and get him to use his pace, which he tries to do there. Maatsen drags him down and gets a yellow card. Newcastle United 0, Aston Villa 2. Still got 6 minutes remaining.
Yeah, loaded in the box.
Trippier, this is 40 yards from goal, far side. Into the area towards Voltemada. It's cleared straight back to Trippier, who has a touch. High cross to the back post, too high, beats everybody. And they're staring at a home defeat, missing out on the chance to move into European positions. Ninth in the table, Newcastle as it stands, above Sunderland on goal difference, both with 33 points. 5 minutes of the added on time to play. Villa headed on from the goal kick. Chow with the ball. Elanga gets it, holds off his man, back to Chow, up the line. Willock's offside. There's no point in going after it. Bogard back to Martinez. Voltemada trying to get it off Konsa. Cash away up the near side, flicked in field by Konsa, straight to Miley. Might be a bit of a gap at the back. Rain is increasingly heavy now at St James's. Miley and Elanga do well. Voltemada looking for Elanga, edge of the box. It's cleared away by Villa. Barnes with a header to keep it in on the near side. Barnes' cross is deflected away. Miley's got it. Now Barnes, as Hall goes on the outside. Barnes into the area. Then a curler from Barnes. Takes a deflection, but it hit Voltemada.
Oh, man.
(2-0 to Villa). 3.5 minutes left of the added on time on BBC Radio Newcastle and BBC Sounds. Total Sport tomorrow from 6 and every weekday evening, with the latest from Newcastle United and Sunderland. Reaction tomorrow to both games this weekend. And on Tuesday we'll build up to Paris Saint-Germain away. Hall lost out there, but Botman helps him out by sliding in on Rodgers and putting the ball into the Milburn stand. Cash with a throw. Rodgers in the corner. Hall's got it back. Miley involved there. Now Bailey for Villa with a back heel. That's a goal kick. Trippier for Willock. Botman edge of the area. Going to try to come forwards with it. They look for Ramsey. It's won back by Lindelof for Aston Villa. And Bailey wide on the right. Ramsey has stayed with him. Back it comes to Cash. Now Rodgers to Lindelof. He's playing like a midfielder. It's coming on. Rodgers makes a run into the corner. Might just keep it there. It's instead towards Lindelof, and then Maatsen trying to make a run into the middle. The ball has come into the hands of Nick Pope. Some appeals from Villa for a penalty. Watkins grabbed hold of Nick Pope. Both teams have a player down. The match continues with Newcastle on their way towards the edge of the Villa penalty area with Elanga, but Konsa's come across and won the ball. Miley nutmegged by Watkins. Joe Willock was down, he's limping, he's got back into midfield. As Villa go on another attack, just a minute to play. And their first victory here for 21 years will shortly be confirmed. Back to halfway, and Konsa, the England international. Bogard on to Lindelof. Rodgers has it. And they're just keeping possession, Villa. It's out for a throw, which Cash will take. The yellow and orange ball up the line. Hall's header. Miley wins it back for Willock. One last attack for Newcastle, but there's only 10 seconds remaining. Willock, plenty of pace here. Out to Trippier. Elanga wants it to his feet. It's wide to Trippier, back to Willock. Referee has a look at his watch and blows for full time. A defeat at St James's Park. Aston Villa's first win here since 2005, and the team third in the Premier League take 3 points back to Birmingham, and Newcastle left to reflect on disappointment in front of their home supporters. Their first Premier League defeat on Tyneside since the end of September, and after last weekend's disappointing goalless draw with Wolves, it's now 2 Premier League matches without a win, and what had seemed like forward momentum and a climb up the Premier League table has now come to a halt. Frustrating, John Anderson. No Bruno, and when they don't have Bruno they don't win, and that run continues. They also lost Joe Linton to injury. Tough one to take.
Yeah, to be fair, I thought Villa were good. You know, they were organised, they defended deep, they broke well, they were well organised, they made life really, really difficult for us. They were physical as well. You know, we talked about it beforehand about different game today. Villa would be more physical, they'd get on our face. That's exactly what they did. We gave it a go. The keepers made a couple of top saves. Nick Pope's made a couple of top saves. But on the day, Villa were very good.
BBC Radio Newcastle and on BBC Sounds. If you search for Newcastle United on BBC Sounds later, you'll be able to get reaction from Eddie Howe to this defeat. I mentioned it a couple of times, Ando, throughout the game, that Martinez made 2 big saves in the first half. They were really crucial, weren't they? The first one inside 40 seconds from Tonali, left-footed shot, edge of the area, hit the goalkeeper and just rolled away from the post. And then the Miley header that looked to be looping in. Brilliant goalkeeping from Martinez. Once at 0-0 and then the other with Villa in their 1-0 lead in the first half. So it could have been different if they'd gone in. They were probably Newcastle's 2 best chances.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you'll say that's what the goalkeeper's there for, but Nick Pope's made important stops for us as well. You know, they go in, it's game over an awful lot earlier. Martinez save inside 40 minutes and 40 seconds. I mean, you're right in what you say, Razor. If that goes in, it's a different game plan then for Villa. You know, they've got to come out, they've got to be a bit more adventurous, they've got to try and get back into it. But he made the save, and then he's made the one from Miley, which was top-notch start to stop. You know, it looks like it's heading in top corner, gets a fingertip to it, tips it away. But it's all ifs and buts. It's all ifs and buts, and at the end of the day it didn't go our way, and we've ended up losing the football match.
Newcastle's players have gone around the pitch to thank the supporters and now head towards the tunnel here at the Milburn stand. We thought Sandro Tonali looked very much more like himself, back to his best energy levels and general performance. He did a lot, took on a lot today, obviously with no Bruno, and that was definitely more like it from the Italian.
Yeah, I thought he looked back to his best today. He was all over the place, he was energetic, he was winning tackles, he was carrying the ball forward. He looked back to his best. Yes, he got substituted, but that was a better performance from him today.
Jacob Ramsey getting lots of hope.
Tell you what, he did well today when he came on.
From Villa staff. Yeah,
he did well. He was
bright.
Yeah, he wanted to get forward. He wanted to carry the ball forward. He wanted to pass it forward. Yeah, he did well.
They may need him in Paris from the start. Joe Linton off with an injury. We'll find out from Eddie Howe soon a bit about Joe Linton and hopefully some more about Bruno. Injuries now in the midfield area, having suffered defensively recently. That would be a worry, but Ramsey coming on was encouraging.
Yeah, Ramsey did well. You know, look, I've said it, he needs a string of games. I think he's a good player. I think he can give us something, but he needs a string of games. He needs to get a run of games. With the injury to Joe Linton, the injury to Guimaraes, we don't know how bad that is. He may well get a run of games on the side.
What about PSG then on Wednesday? And I mean, look, of course it doesn't get much easier, and it's a really hard run of games and away games. The next three: PSG in Paris, Liverpool at Anfield, and then the second leg away at Manchester City in the League Cup semi-final. So it's a hard run. Obviously they needed everybody fit,
especially if you're missing two of your key midfield players. You know, the one thing you didn't want to do was go to Paris on Wednesday without Joe Linton, without Guimaraes. So, you know, we'll have to wait and see what those injuries are like, whether either of them, hopefully both of them, but if either of them are available for Wednesday night.
Newcastle United beaten here by Aston Villa at 9th in the Premier League table. The other scores in the Premier League today, just a reminder, at the other 2 o'clocks with at 4:30 Arsenal leaders against Man United. Brentford 0, Nottingham Forest 2, Crystal Palace 1, Chelsea 3. Palace finished with 10 men. And Newcastle United women beaten 2-1 by Charlton in Women's Super League 2. Charlton top of the table. Also today, Sunderland women 1-0 win over Southampton at home. Durham women beaten 4-0 at Crystal Palace. Total Sport on BBC Radio Newcastle tomorrow night from 6, and on BBC Sounds. You can listen wherever you are in the world and catch up any time on any shows you've missed on the BBC Sounds app, with more reaction to today's and the weekend's sport from our northeast sides, and you can phone in to have your say on Newcastle and Sunderland. John Anderson will be back tomorrow to discuss this game with you, and we'll bring you commentary from Paris on Wednesday night of that Champions League final league phase match. 8 o'clock kickoff as Newcastle take on the Holders to try and get an automatic place for the last 16, but they go into that huge European night on the back of a defeat at St James's Park. Buendia in the 19th minute, Watkins in the 88th to finish Newcastle United 0, Aston Villa 2. Tielemans to Rodgers to Buendia, thinking about a shot, edge of the area. What a goal from Buendia. Well, he has started brilliantly, the Argentinian, and he's put Aston Villa ahead at St James's Park in the 19th minute with a dipping shot from the edge of the area. An end-to-end game. Newcastle could have taken the lead in the first minute. Aston Villa are the side who score first, though, through Buendia's 7th of the season, and they lead by a goal to 0. Here's Digne in the box, and the cross to Watkins, who scores a second. Ollie Watkins with a header through the legs of Nick Pope at the Gallagher end, and Aston Villa will surely take 3 points from Newcastle United. A second goal, which they threatened to score with Watkins' long-range effort that Pope saved, but he could do nothing about the header from the Aston Villa striker. And it's going to be defeated at St James's Park for Newcastle United. 88 minutes, Newcastle United 0, Aston Villa 2.
Total Sport North East.
On the station with Newcastle and Sunderland commentary exclusively live.
BBC Radio Newcastle.